I'm back for Dusty S's Best of Five podcast. It's brought to you by INUI Gaming. I'm here with Fi, who you might know as a caster, YouTuber, content creator, and Mongols fan. Welcome to the show, Fi. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing me on.
Of course, of course. It's it's a tradition to bring on people at the top of their game. We brought on Messioso right before he was laid off at Complexity. Brought up Marsborn right before they made a couple roster changes. So hopefully, nothing will happen to you in the next 2 3 weeks that we're directly responsible for. But speaking of that, we're just gonna jump right into things. Some good news from you recently as you breached 100,000 followers on YouTube. Tell me about that. Was that an exciting moment for you to hit that milestone?
Like, it's not to downplay anything, but strangely enough, obviously it's big number. Big number is cool, but it kind of didn't really hit me uh just yet. I kind of go through the day by day, and I'm like, 100,000 subscribers, that's crazy, but my main focus is just to keep making good videos at the end of the day, and that's a nice something to have, like, tell your family that, like, hey guys, I made it. I think that's the biggest point of call there for the 100,000 subscribers, is because that's a big number that people who don't even know much about YouTube kind of can respect. So mostly it's been my family, that has had the biggest impact. But for myself, it's not like, I'm not running away with it. I'm not switching up on my day ones yet.
The plaque is more for the fans rather than for you. It's a show. We made it. I didn't make it. We made it as a
Yeah,
family, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
It's for the people. It's for the fans.
Yeah.
But it still is a big deal. There's only a handful of content creators who create long form Counter Strike content that reach that sort of achievement. And that's only something you've been doing for a few years now. It takes some people a long time to hit that milestone. For those who don't know, you're quite a young guy. You're in a world of unks and nephews, you're 100% a nephew, if that's not too offensive thing to say. Of course, you only recently in January turned 21, so you're finally able to go to LAN events and drink after years of working as a talent and being sober, being the DD, being the oh, the honk schnu, I got to get to bed kind of guy. And that's something I wanted to ask you about is with this achievement now of hitting 100,000 followers on YouTube, subscribers on YouTube rather, it's sort of the culmination of a lot of years of work for you. And I do remember obviously back in like 2020, 2021 when you were getting your start, you were only 15. What prompted you to decide to become like a caster and a content creator at such a young age?
Okay, so a lot of it was spite, I would say.
Always good,
So,
always a good start.
I mean, spite is like a legendary motivator. Spite gets so much stuff done. Truly a LeBron level performance from Spite. But
Incredible.
I'd have to say that when I was a big fan of Counter-Strike through 2019, I think it's really where it started, because HLTV wasn't blocked by my school's Wi-Fi, so I would be on HLTV all the time. And I started growing opinions of commentators. I was an HLTV forums user. Just gonna throw that out there. And when that began, I had a lot of opinions, and I said, man, some of these casters, especially like in tier two, just sounded like they didn't want to be there. And I'm like, I could do a better job than them. I could sound like, I want to be there and be excited for so many different moments. And that's what really motivated me to become a commentator. And I think the storytelling part came later afterwards on that. That the storytelling was more of a way to add more dynamics to my commentary, right? To know so much about these players and know the stories behind all of them. And that's what kind of transitioned into content creation, where I just like telling the stories behind all these moments, behind these crazy games and these big superlatives, that there's so much more than just guy A shot player B in the head with an AK-47. So,
So would you say you're more of a fan of like the narrative aspect of Counter Strike than like the mechanics? Because obviously there's some people who really get into the nitty gritty. They can tell you all the stat lines. They can tell you all of they can break down matches. Their kind of career is based around being like the smartest guy in a room when it comes to the game. Would you describe yourself more as like a narrative driven content creator in that sense?
yeah, absolutely. I'm not an analyst. I mean, look, 2500 elo on FACEIT gives me some basic principles of, what the macro game is, what the micro game is, what a good peak is, what a bad peak is. So I can tell you what's good and what's bad. Um, but I can't break it down in a way that, say, someone like Mahone does. One of my favorite content creators, obviously. He's hyper analytic, obviously former analyst for the Ninjas in Pajamas. Check out his YouTube channel if you haven't. Shameless plug.
Nice.
But on someone else's platform. But I would never be that kind of deep dive analyst. I'm not a huge demo watcher. I mean, I'll watch back a couple demos, and obviously I watch all the games. But I'm not looking for the next game changing tactic or changes in the strategic meta. I'm more interested about where a player was from, where did he grow up, who were his friends, what was his hobbies, what's his style, type of thing, as opposed to the extreme analytical side of Counter Strike.
Definitely. I think I'm in the same vein as you, where in my long career, I've been more interested in like interview content, investigative content, like the org side of things. If people ask me to do like a breakdown of like a map or like a like who do you think is going to win this match, like I can begrudgingly do it. Sometimes in old Dust 2, before I was the boss, they'd be like, can you write an article that's like breaking down like the next upcoming match between like Nip and NRG or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I can do it. And I'm like, this team is good on Mirage. They should probably pick it. And that was kind of the extent of my analytical knowledge of. And they're like, they're bad on Vertigo. They probably shouldn't take it to Vertigo. Was the extent of my analytical talents in that front. So I definitely, I think we're in similar boat where we both appreciate more the story behind the scenes. Now, turning the focus back to your origin. So you start working as a caster around 16, 17 years old. Um, Presumably you're living at home with your parents at the time. Was that a hard sell for them to convince them to let you, at I mean, these matches are taking place. MDL is like 8:30, 9 p.m. for you to, hop on for the next 2, 3 hours on a school night to go cast, two teams they've never heard of. They're making like $150 a month. What was the sell there for your parents?
So my parents obviously got very frustrated with me commentating out of my bedroom because I'm loud. If anyone's heard any of my broadcasts, I think I'm more. This is Maui Snake's words, not mine. Definitely more on the electric side of things. Um, so I'm very loud when it comes to my commentary. That's just how I do things. My parents did not like that at all. And I don't think they minded too much. I don't think my parents were ever apprehensive to the idea. At least my dad was not. My mother, on the other hand, was constantly telling me to go find a real job. Like go apply to an internship here, go there. Um, but the my parents were fairly indifferent. They said as long as you get your college degree, you can do whatever the heck you want. Um, and I really thank them for that. I don't think my parents were too big of a roadblock in life compared to what I've seen from other people at least, where they're saying like, this is not going to last. Don't chase the dream. If the dream fell down for me at least, I have a degree in mass communications currently for bachelor's. Um and that would be, maybe I could find a job somewhere else, but this dream has lasted as it is, and I'm thankful for my parents for giving me that kind of freedom. I relocated to my garage, by the way, out of my room. It's basically on the other side of the house, so I can shout as much as I want.
Okay, so now you've given up the ghost, like we said in the pre-show. You revealed that this isn't actually like the corner of your bedroom. I know, it's a carefully constructed reality that you're just like a gamer in your gamer room. I mean, like it's same with a lot of other casters where, uh, but it's actually a green room. Like none of this is real. It's all constructed. It's all a constructed fantasy. Whereas people like me who aren't on camera all the time, you can tell this is just my poorly lit bedroom with just random crap. I had to like throw clothes and bottles and stuff on the bed. Vast difference in lighting. Yours is perfectly illuminated. Shiny whitewashed wall, whereas this is just like. But regardless, it sounds like you have a good relationship there with your parents, especially when you're getting started. And I was going to ask you, you promised to get your degree, and you clearly did, so that's good. So you didn't just like play for time and like wink, I'm going to get my degree, and then you just didn't, because I think that's something that happens to a lot of people in esports too. Is like especially players, they use the promise of a degree to keep their parents
Mhm.
off their back. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'll have time to study while I'm, playing MDL at university," and then they have like a 0.1 GPA, and it's like, okay, like
Yeah.
clearly you lied on, clearly you lied on that front.
A little extra part to this whole degree story as well. I haven't really told many people about this, but so I I'll just say this. I skipped 2 grades. Um
You're a smart
in
cookie.
I am a smart cookie. So when the pandemic began, I was going to go into my senior year of high school, but instead I had a high school equivalency, so I went to community college. So why I'm telling you this is because in 2022, I have the decision uh, to go from community college to a 4-year university when I was 18. And I had to make the decision because if I go to a 4-year university, I can't really pursue commentary as much as I wanted to. And I think that's actually the pipeline. A couple of other commentators, specifically for people who know Counter Strike and particularly Valorant as well, Sully or Ethan Tran, um, also had this same dilemma. And when he started going to college, he kind of gave up the esports dream, and that was the same path I could have taken in 2022. I could have went to a very good 4-year university, um, or I could say, "Hey, I'm just gonna do online college for my bachelor's degree and continue pursuing my esports career." Um, and if Third Street, rest in peace, um, didn't didn't fly me out to Philadelphia earlier in that year, I might have chosen to go to a 4-year university and become part of normal society and just assimilate, just be a regular guy. But instead, I'm on a podcast here with Jeff M&M's from Dusty.us.
Awesome. And now I get to make. I think I made this joke like every single episode of the podcast. I make it every single Fragadelphia event I go to. Nerd Treat's like, the FTX money will hit our bank account right about, and he's been arrested in the Bahamas because of course that event was huge for NA because for those who don't know that was Frag 17, right?
Correct.
And that had $100,000 prize pool. It was the first Frag event that really attracted international teams, and it was all uh, brought up. It was
Extremely
all
well produced as well.
extremely
Not to
well
say that current
produced.
frags aren't well produced. Not to
Produced.
say the current
Yeah,
frag team is doing a great job with their broadcasts, but back
but
then,
they
you know,
had
you
they
had
had they had they had
5
money back.
guys.
They
They
had
had yeah.
money. Oh, they had money back then because it was all brought to you by FTX US, which was the cryptocurrency exchange. Quite famously, sponsored the MLB. Sponsored. They owned us. They had naming rights for I think for the Lakers was it, or I think maybe the Heat. It doesn't. It's not really relevant. But they had all this thing, and then of course the owner Sam Bankman-Fried gets arrested. Fragadelphia doesn't get their money. Nerd Street doesn't get their money, and that's kind of part of the reason why um, a small part of the reason why like they had to go through that hiatus period and eventually come back to where they are now. And we'll talk about that later. Actually, the Frag event coming up next weekend, Blocktober, will be actually at the same venue that Frag 17 was at. So
Yep.
it's sort of a homecoming for a lot of people. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see you there, but there'll be
I
a lot of yeah,
Yeah.
there'll be a lot
I
of
very
Frag
much wish
regulars.
I was there though. I think Fragadelphia's, for those who are listening and those who don't know, they're really great just because it's a wonderful community event and you can just walk up to talk to anyone. And especially when you're in Philadelphia, there's a lot of things to do. So it really is a fun little esports trip
Oh,
for
and
those who really want to.
there's such a good sandwich shop next door too, Palm
Oh,
Gourmet. Oh,
yes.
I'm so excited to go to Blocktober just for the sandwiches. The bacon teriyaki, the Reuben, the pastrami on rye. It's gonna be such a good event, and there's gonna be such good sandwiches too. And but taking it back to something not sandwich related, I think that is a testament to how long you've been in the scene, despite only being 21. Is that you do have memories of like those old frag events, in the sort of tail end of Counter Strike Global Offensive. Did you ever find your age to be a difficulty for you at all when you came up in the scene? Being such a young guy compared to maybe some of the more experienced guys, especially trying to break in with companies like ESL. Working for Frag when you're only God 18 at the time.
Yeah, I think the age thing was a difficulty because of life experience, I would say, compared to other people. For those who knew me when I was like like 16, 17, 18. Um, I was a bit of an asshole. um, at least when it comes down to just how to interact with people. So being young, I just didn't really know how to maximize my time and just be, a good person to hang around. I think that was my biggest limiting factor early on, in getting a lot of opportunities, as well as I can't go to the after party, so that kind of hurts. That kind of
Yeah.
sucks. But I would just be like, all right, guys, you guys have fun. I'll go.
I
I'll
think I do
go.
have some memories of it being especially pathetic. If memory serves, you being under 21, and it's like everyone's like, "All right, what should we do after like a long day of broadcast?" It's like, "Oh, let's go to like the bar, let's go to the club," and then just you sadly like, "I'll go back to my hotel room and like sleep or whatever." Like just pathetic, like thumb up on the road, like
Basically, yeah. Even back to like last year, because obviously I only turned 21, but I was at like Fragadelphia, or it's like Philly. He was at Tap Esports Center
the
in
Chinese basement
Philadelphia.
LAN,
Yeah, the
yeah,
Chinese basement. First of all,
where it's like
I
800 degrees Fahrenheit all day,
but
yeah.
but I think that is like the coolest location ever because you come out of the basement and you're in the middle of Chinatown, and it's like
Oh,
there's
extremely
there's so much
immaculate vibes.
there's so much stuff to do. It's a bustling city like right above you. But yeah, everyone would like go get drinks afterwards, and I would just be like, "All right, that's great, guys. I'm gonna take the train home.
Yeah, like good
Bye."
talk, yeah. Sorry, I have a curfew I need to get to, yeah.
Basically felt like that.
Yeah, it's definitely if you're young, if you're under 21 at a LAN event, you are just like the most wretched of the earth. I We had a writer for Dust 2 back in the day, Sam, who I believe was Sam or Daniel, who was under 21, and it was like that too because nothing you want nothing more after like a 15-hour press day of like a cold beer, a cold beer, a hot sandwich, and whatever, and then it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go back and like work on like homework or whatever, and you're like, okay, like I'm sorry, bro. You're like, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's pathetic. That's pathetic. Imagine going to a LAN event and then having to do homework
Like,
afterwards.
well, it's always like for whatever reason, every single LAN event is always either before midterms, before finals, or before summer break. Like every single LAN event on the calendar is always before some monumentally important date for like the 18 to 21 demographic. Um, oh, I if I don't, I did already tell my professor like, oh, I'm working this weekend. Haha, can I take, can I get an extension? They're like, okay, and they're like, okay, and then I need to just go work on like a paper about like geology or whatever, like after watching like I Am Dallas all day, you're like, oh, I gotta go write about Shakespeare, and it's like great, like good talk, like, and then just go home and play Balatro or whatever instead of doing the essay. The Balatro days last year at I Am Dallas were really something. You'd be walking into the production room and people who weren't actively working on the production would be playing Balatro. You go into the press room, like multiple people were playing Balatro. I'm sure the casters were also playing Balatro at the time.
Oh my
Admit it.
goodness.
Admit it.
Okay, believe it or not, I've never played Elatro.
He's never played Balatro, he says.
Even though
Try to
with card games like paraphernalia in my in the backdrop as well. I have a deck box back here. I've got a whole uncut sheet that
He's got a
yeah,
creeper
I got a
lunchbox.
creeper lunchbox.
Is that the one you brought to school?
I I
That'd
won
be
it at
so.
like I won it at an arcade, and I'm like, this gotta go in my
That'd be
backdrop.
so incredibly cool if you did though, because I feel like there's like like when you're like a senior in high school, you can do like the most jackass stuff possible. Like bring like middle school stuff, like SpongeBob socks or like SpongeBob socks or whatever, like
Or just like large, like very loud graphic T-shirts.
shirts.
You can just wear Counter Strike merch. You can get away with everything.
You
Wear
can
an
get a
esports jersey to school. Yeah, guys, if you're doing this, wear an esports jersey to school. You're hearing this.
See, I missed out on all of that because when I didn't get into esports until I was in college, so like I never got to be like the young buck, wearing the B&B jersey to prom or whatever, and then rest in peace, Bad News Bears. I did want to ask you about that as well. Besides your two Counter Strike channels, of course, you have the Fi main, and then you have Fi Slop. You also have Fi Yu-Gi-Oh. Tell me about that. What's up with Fi Yu-Gi-Oh?
So, for a long time, my passion alongside esports was Yu-Gi-Oh. I'll actually say that kind of like in between playing Counter Strike. So I initially started playing Counter Strike in 2015 when I was 11, and I played that for 2 years. But then eventually I got into trading card games for a while, and um, then esports took over. You know, I have one primary hobby. Traded that for esports again in 2019. But in 2022, you know, I'm 18 years old. I've made a little bit of money from commentary. I'm not gonna say you make a lot doing North American tier two, but you know, I'm living in my parents' house, so I don't pay rent. And finally, I can kind of actually, you know, enjoy and pay for my hobby. And fortunately, my friend group who still are at my local card shop um, are also, you know, still playing. So I reconnect with that friend group, get back into playing trading card games very competitively. And I actually start traveling for events. So just think about this in between going to Fragadelphia 17 in September of 2022, the next month I go to Minneapolis for a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. And I start traveling to the United States playing card games. And then the same thing. This LeBron James era of spite takes over. And I look at Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube and I'm like, bruh, this shit sucks. Um, like all the people are just doing entertainment slop, you know, 30-minute videos of just, you know, streamer highlights. That's basically all Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube is. And so I'm like, no one is making interesting think pieces about competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, the world I live in. 'Cause there are so many different characters. There are people you know of. It's almost like it's like it's a clique. There's like a top level of players, you know, people who are just like group of 1,000 people who are just competitive round the clock, and they all have stories and stuff. So I start my Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube channel, and I start talking about the metagame. I start doing game analysis. It's where I got my first 20K view video on my Yu-Gi-Oh channel, and then in December of 2023, I'm like, no one's really told. Everyone talks. My whole thing about YouTube is that I know there are so many stories that people talk about, but there's no one who's actually documented. And so I went out and covered a real it's my first, I would say, 100,000 view video. And it was about Yu-Gi-Oh's like biggest upset basically. Um about a guy just bringing a what was thought to be an absolutely terrible strategy, but he was the only person playing that strategy at the event and he won the whole damn thing. And it was a very cool story. So my Yu-Gi-Oh channel eventually set the blueprint for what we have today.
In what ways does Yu-Gi-Oh! Scratch an itch for you that Counter Strike doesn't? Because it's clear you kind of manage both addictions at the same time. So what is what is the high that Yu-Gi-Oh! Gives you that Counter Strike
Oh my
doesn't?
goodness. Wow. That's a hell of a question. Yu-Gi-Oh allows for so much creativity in my opinion. There's just so many small details that just really, and there's just so much happening at once. Wow. What what really scratches the itch that, well, at the moment I don't really play Yu-Gi-Oh, I will say.
He's clean.
Since
He's clean since December of 2020. Yeah.
well, I don't think I've really attended tournaments since June of last year. Um but obviously in between that I'm also watching Counter-Strike games and I'm actually still commentating, right? Even between my Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube channel, I'm also still commentating matches in Counter-Strike as well. But Yu-Gi-Oh for me really, I mean, funnily enough, I'm fidgeting with Yu-Gi-Oh cards on my desk right now.
There you go.
Um,
Yeah.
but Yu-Gi-Oh for me, really, there's just so much that happens. There's so many details. There's so much creativity in the game. Obviously, it's a very complex game. The modern game of Yu-Gi-Oh right now is very difficult than I summon Blue Eyes White Dragon and I blast you away off the board. It's more like you summon 8 Blue Eyes White Dragons and you still don't win. Um, that's basically what modern Yu-Gi-Oh is. But it's very complex, very complicated, a lot of thinking, but mostly what kept me into it as well was my social group, my friends. Um, and I think that's what also brings me back to Counter Strike. Is you have a group of friends who play Counter Strike. You see them at every event, and you're like, I got to do that again.
So no pot of greed stories or anything. Like pot of greed's banned in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! I think, right? Is that
So it is banned in modern Yu-Gi-Oh. There is one story I do have. So this little deck box above me,
the next to
uh,
the BNB jersey?
next to the BMV jersey, I drove 5 hours to go to Santa Clara, California. I live in the Los Angeles area, and I got second place out of a regional of 575 players. So, um, yeah, that was like a little journey. And there is a deck profile on YouTube with like 4,000 views out there. If you want to search like Yu-Gi-Oh! Second place, you'll find me in March of 2024 with a second place deck profile after I played like 12 hours of Yu-Gi-Oh! In a single day.
There you
Was
go.
it
So
worth it?
was it
No,
worth it?
I lost money on the trip.
Well,
Anyways.
all good adventures you lose money on. I mean, we're all spending money to do the things we want to do. It's like even people. I mean, there's only a select like 0.1% of people in esports who actually make money. So I'm sure it's no different in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like
Of course.
top
I'm
heavy.
obviously joking, by the way, because we people who play Yu-Gi-Oh do not play the game to make money. All right, we play it because we love the game.
There's not like Yu-Gi-Oh high. There's not like Yu-Gi-Oh high rollers who like hand out like come in
There
with
are
the
the best players are Yu-Gi-Oh high rollers who try to make it. Um, there's a whole economy with it, but I'm not gonna get into it on Best of Five here with
on
Jeff
Best of
M&M's.
Five a Counter Strike podcast. No, I mean that's fine. I mean I did ask. Like you can't blame yourself for answering the question that I gave you. It's like surely not. So you did have some viral videos on the Yu-Gi-Oh channel, but you also had some very viral videos on the YouTube channel. There's two videos on your channel that broke a million views, and then there's one that broke 800,000 views. Those were, of course, the Fnatic M80 game at EPL that went on for what 46 or 52 rounds.
71 rounds
71,
ended
excuse me,
30
71 rounds.
37 to 34.
37 to 34. Then you had the one about the worst game in Counter Strike history, uh, which was Fnatic versus Omcall, or no, Nip versus Omcall, excuse me. And then the final one was the Evil Genius, the Fall of Evil Geniuses video, the sort of think piece on why Nicole Point Jameson's Evil Geniuses organization failed. Uh, as a still relatively new content creator, were you excited? I mean, what were your feelings when you saw that first video breach a million views and go viral? Because that those two videos, especially the 2 million videos, were honest to God, viral for a while there.
Yeah. So I remember my when the Nip Amcal video, that was the one that I first released, started going nuclear. And I mean, I was just like, uh, I don't, I was just excited. I was really just like, holy crap, I'm doing something. And only a couple days later, I ended up going to Frag Chicago, and then it and weirdly enough, in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, people would recognize me all the time at events, even though I'm only a 20,000 subscriber YouTube channel. The Yu-Gi-Oh community is very tight knit like that. Um, but when someone walks up to me and recognizes me from my Counter Strike YouTube channel, that's like, oh, okay, so maybe I am making it in this as well. Um, and it was very, I don't know, it was very surreal. Just having that video do well because I know Counter Strike is such a much larger community. It's been difficult to break through. There hasn't really been a lot of innovation in terms of Counter Strike content in the last 5 years, and having that video break through, I mean, I was extremely, yeah, I was just extremely elated, excited, and I'm like, oh my goodness, maybe I'm cooking with gas. I'm starting to flow with new video ideas, and what more do I want to make? What more do I want to tell? Um, and then, well, the content kind of makes itself when like a week after I upload the worst professional match of Counter Strike maybe ever, uh, 37 to 34 happens. So kind of a brilliant moment happens right after I kind of strike gold a bit. So um, I'm able to capitalize on not only just recency but Counter Strike history as well.
What do you think are the sort of keys to the kingdom you can take away from those 3 videos that you can put towards making more content, making better content? Is there some kind of, like, systemic or, c macro concept towards content creation that you learned from those 3 videos going viral?
So even before those videos going viral, I made not just my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. My Yu-Gi-Oh channel was kind of like the start of that, but the Counter Strike channel as well. I kind of have an MO and a philosophy, and that is the Counter Strike culture and the culture of a lot of video games is just so good, but someone has to tell it. Someone has to immortalize these moments that happen in the game, or else they'll just be forgotten. And how a lot of us became esports fans is through being invested in the culture. I remember back in 2015, Forrest and Get Right were my idols. Um, you know, because I was just so invested in their story. I was invested in the Ninjas in Pajamas. They were named the Ninjas in Pajamas. Who wouldn't be? But I'm like, I want to make the Counter Strike culture better, and I want to tell those stories. So when something, to use the term, culturally impactful happens, someone has to tell that. And I wanted to tell it in my style. I always have There's another thing as well, is that I have takes. I have opinions, and now I can go out there and go in a YouTube channel and say, "This is terrible, this is good, this is hilarious," and say it in my unique style. Where as a commentator, I kinda have to, on broadcast, be professional, keep that under wraps. Um, this became more of an outlet to express myself.
I
So,
think oh, sorry, go ahead.
basically, to recap, enhance the culture was my number 1 MO when making my channel. So I will always tell stories that haven't been told before.
I think it's a double-edged sword for a lot of content creators to, air quotes, have opinions because it's the key to being an interesting person and being a well-known personality. But also, the community loves when people have opinions, but they also hate when people have opinions. I
Yeah.
think case in point is people historically like Thorin, Maui Snake, Richard Lewis. Their careers are built on having takes, but people also hate that they have takes. Have you ever been apprehensive to have opinions before?
Yes. I mean, even like right now on my channel, um, I try to be sort of, kind of flow into I'm not trying to go against the grain to go against the grain. It's basically what I'm saying is I'm not that type of person where I need to kind of like be incendiary to stand out. Like even I'm pretty well known for just, releasing my Falcons videos, at least within like the Counter Strike esports community, as opposed to my viral videos. And I was even kind of apprehensive to release those because I'm like, well, there's going to be a certain demographic who just won't like me for that. Um, but there's it is widely accepted, and as long as I explain my takes with good reasoning to back it up, of I've clearly talked about why I dislike Astralis and Falcons for mismanagement of young talents and overspending and inefficiency overall. That if I explain a take and give good basis and grounding for it, then I can make that kind of take and kind of be a little bit more incendiary and out there with say negative opinion on an esports team.
Definitely. Going back to casting is your partnership with Exner. He's someone you've been working with for a very long time, and I wanted to ask about that partnership. He's someone you've been working with almost since the beginning of your casting career. How did you guys find each other, and what do you think he brings to sort of your duo, your relationship as a commentary pair?
Yeah, so it just happened. So I started commentating in late 2020. Almost, that's actually kind of insane, but about 5 years to the day from when we're recording this on September 29th. Um, and he was also commentating the same reaches of Counter Strike as I was at the time, and at least listening to him, I'm like, okay, this guy's good. Like compared to the other people who didn't really treat themselves professionally, would kind of just like hop on the broadcast and just start talking about whatever. Exner would use every opportunity when he was commentating these what we call open IP games, or basically games that anyone can broadcast. He was taking them very seriously. And I'm like, okay, this guy has the same mentality about commentating that I did. He was a little bigger than me at the time. but I said, "Hey, want to hop on the mic at least?" And that's kind of how the partnership started. And really, what he does bring to the table, he kind of grounds me a bit, and he's also just there's one thing, and that he has a great voice and very good talent. In terms of he is extremely a good listen. That's that's the most important thing you can be as a commentator is being a good listen. I'm a difficult listen. You have to kind of strain your ears a little bit when you hear me commentate. I'm loud, but Exner is a really good like anchor for a broadcast because he can always keep the viewer engaged um just with very smooth voice that he has. And he's commentating ESL Pro League as we speak.
And he has a very cute dog. For those who don't know, love that dog, Lasso. If you hang around the Philadelphia area, you might be blessed to meet Lasso one day. I always blessed to meet Lasso. Have you ever met
Of
Lasso?
course. So when I was at Fragadelphia Tap, I stayed at Exner's.
He's a very polite young man, that Lasso.
Yeah, it was a boxer. It's a boxer beagle mix. Honestly, just
Great
one of the
dog.
sweetest pups. Very loud. You might hear him on an Exner broadcast if you
Dogs of
listen close.
esports is a passion of mine. Document, honestly, someone should do that. Document the dogs of esports, especially with dogs like Bardo going viral.
Hmm.
Like, do like a profile, like, be like Bardo most famous moment at playground, and you can be like Lasso most famous moment in the background of MDL season 35. You know, doing something about the dogs of esports, but I just enjoy dogs. Continuing on, before we get into the news segment, I wanted to ask two open-ended questions of you. With the end of the year approaching, what are your goals to finish out the rest of this year? What are your big projects, and what are you looking forward to in 2026?
So obviously, I continue trying to maintain a quota of uploading 2 videos per month, and obviously, game reviews are kind of like, my bread and butter for my YouTube channel, but I have a couple of other, more think piece type of videos coming through. So kind of to experiment with more video ideas, because obviously I could just stick with my formula, just, make game reviews of crazy games. There was a recently there was a 12-0-0-12 game that happened in EU tier 2.
Yeah, that's not suspicious at all.
Well, it was between two like decent teams, so I wouldn't really
No,
put that.
I know what game you're talking about. Wasn't it like
It
thinking of
was
like
Betera versus
ESD?
TNL.
Oh, TNL.
Yeah, so or
No
now
comment.
TNL who are now Inner Circle and playing at EPL. So there's that. There was also a Pain Gaming versus Imperial game that went 12-0-0-12 for for that to be said. But whatever the case, I can continue doing these crazy games until the end of time, but I really want to continue to evolve in the Counter-Strike space and to, bring up topics that could again change the culture. That's the biggest thing here. Talk about the history of the game, talk about the notable players, talk about the to kind of enhance the current image of what Counter Strike is, and that's my goal the entire time. So I have a couple of ideas that are in the works to do that, and I have a video hopefully coming out in the next couple days. So
Nice.
that'll be
I
fun.
think that's the one you're editing right now.
Correct.
Correct. And of course, your videos have a lot of production that go into them. It's more than just talking into a camera. Like some content creators, you have a lot of video clips and stuff. So I'm sure that's a massive pain in the ass, but it's good stuff. So someone's got to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. With it was with Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube as well. Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube, Counter Strike esports YouTube as well. Is that sometimes just people don't edit, and you really need to make people want to watch your video. And that's kind of again been one of my main MOs when it comes to YouTubing in general is just put effort into your content and it will show. I think while you might get 10,000 views once a day and over the course of 2 weeks that's 140,000 views. That sounds great, but I would rather have one video get 140,000 views because that means I reached 140,000 different people.
You mentioned enhancing and building on kind of the story of esports, the narrative aspect of the game. One thing that I think you've done a big part of bringing forward is your obsession, your cultic status in the Mongolian scene, sort of the sort of the Western, Khan of the Mongols. Tell me about where did that come from, and what's sort of been the implications of that decision?
I have loved the Mongols because if you know me, I mean, I've talked about it earlier on this very podcast, but I'm someone who's so entrenched in the narrative, and there is no team that has a better narrative than the Mongols. Not just with how they grew up and their story, but also with just how they play the game. In my opinion, they are the most entertaining team in Counter Strike, at least for the last 2 years, because they play Counter Strike. They play Asian style of Counter Strike, which is so radically different than any other team. Every single one of the Mongols players can shoot hard. They're all from a completely underrepresented country in not just esports but the entire world, and they are the definition of an underdog. No matter if they're world number one, they're still an underdog to me, and that's why I love the Mongols so much. And a couple YouTube videos here and there, and they make great content as well because their players are so incredibly good. For example, when you know Senzu goes and drops 56 kills in a single map, um, the Mongols just have so much going for them story wise, the way they play the game, and that's what enamors me as well. And their social media, their branding, everything is just clicks perfectly when I look at the Mongols.
Whoever runs their Twitter account is like legitimately a very funny social media manager,
He,
and like it's
I,
like very like it's very eloquent English, which I'm surprised about because they don't traditionally they don't really teach English in Mongolia. So I assume it's some foreigner or someone who just has a particular neck. Do you know anything
mm,
about that? What's
I
this?
do. I have met Mr. Mongols, the man behind it all. Um, he is Mongolian. I will put that through as well. And I have honestly, the Twitter is actually kind of what got me looking at the Mongols because their branding as well of a man can be destroyed but not defeated, and this kind. I feel like I'm listening to Genghis Khan tweet when I see a Mongols tweet. Um, but yeah, again, their social media guy as well is extremely talented and really good at his job.
And so does that imply like the Mongols are aware of your existence, and is the nation of
Oh, of
Mongolia aware
course.
of Is Mongolia as a whole aware of your existence?
So I'll just share a statistic as well. It's honestly a kind of funny statistic, but the my my channel geographies goes like this. 20% of my audience is from the US, 5% is from Germany, and then another 5% is from Mongolia. So I have a very big Mongolian viewer base, and that 5% makes up for maybe like 50,000 views, or I believe, yeah, like around 50 to 60,000 views, approximately. It's just off the top of my head. Is
So a
from Mongolia.
non-negligible a non-negligible amount of Mongolians are aware of your existence.
I have a lot of Mongolians my uh engaged with my not just my YouTube channel, but my Twitter and even my Instagram. Like, look, Mongolia, I love you. All right, you guys rock. So
They're really hard. They're really hard not to love. Like
I have a lot
honestly,
of people. I have a lot. I mean, shoot, I have a. I had a okay. I had a guy send me an email the other day saying, "Yo, if you ever want to come to Mongolia, I have a place to stay for you." Now, respect the invite, but I can't really make it out to Mongolia just on a whim. But it has to be in the
that'd be a
future.
sick hang though.
It would be a
Be a
sick
sick
hang.
hang.
But I would in the next year. I'll make it a goal of myself that I have to go to Mongolia.
Honestly, they're gonna hold more events out there. You should try to get on a desk for one of them. That'd be sick. I
Yeah,
think that I
Mesa,
think
hit
that
me
should
up.
be your goal. I think the question I asked you with my own answer for your question. I think that should be the FI goal 2026 is work a Mongolian event.
Yeah,
That'd be
honestly,
sick.
honestly, and my year would be complete. It'd be awesome.
It'd be sick. Um, Definitely, and I love those guys too. You know, every time we do an interview with them, with like techno, for example, usually it takes a day or two before they notice because of time zones. But it'll be like half the viewers will be like America and Canada, and then the other half will be Mongolia, and it's sick. Like that, our three biggest viewership bases for Dust US interviews are like America, Canada, I think Finland, and then Mongolia, because Finnish people are just like content agnostic. They just kind of watch like anything esports related. You know, do you have a
Mhm.
lot of Finnish viewers who just kind of
I do not. I could actually like snipe my demographics right now, but I don't think I
have a
do.
cheeky little peek?
I think it's a little one percenter of of Finns. So not insignificant.
See, there you go. Yeah, it's like the thing I've noticed with them is even on our website, Dust to US, um, the top cities for the month for us will be like Seattle, New York, like Miami, and then like Helsinki, just because they just love esports. I mean, I guess because it's they just
Yeah,
kind of
they
spend
rock
all.
2% of my viewership
See,
actually.
that's not
Sheesh.
insignificant, right?
Yeah. Dang. Yeah, Finns just watch anything, huh?
The Finns just watch anything. Even they'll even watch me. Uh, And then final thing about your YouTube is we did briefly mention there FaSeIT. What's up with FaSeIT?
So FiSlop is for my videos that I think will that are more catered to the already, internal Counter-Strike audience. A lot of my main channel YouTube videos try to reach as many people as possible and really try to cater to the general Counter-Strike audience or the general gaming audience, right? I really just want to try and spread the good word of Counter-Strike to everyone. But FiSlop is for people who are in really entrenched into Counter-Strike already. So it's kind of like, in terms of the iceberg, I FiCS2 tries to kind of cover the tip of the iceberg that hasn't been covered yet. So, for example, all these crazy ass games that are happening, or all these old emerging storylines, or even older storylines. FiSlop, for example, the one of the top videos on that channel. I haven't uploaded in a bit, but don't worry, it's coming through. I have another video planned for that. But it was called the Money Ballers of Counter Strike, which is talking about positively the good management that exists in Counter Strike. Teams that try to grow talent and then sell them off for a profit. I think that video is sitting at about like 130,000 views right now. But that channel exists for those who already love Counter Strike and want to know a little bit more. And in the future, it'll just be all sorts of miscellaneous content as well, from like stream highlights for me coming soon, TM, and other just variety content, basically.
I do love the proliferation of slop as a genre of YouTube creation. I do follow some other YouTubers who cover other games or who cover like video games who do have like their main channel and then they just have like the slop channel and it's like like slop pejorative but like in a good way. It's where they can kind of do more off the cuff or more like Q&A type things. And I think that's a great way to sort of diversify your content stream and only keep the best stuff on the, you know,
Yes.
Phi CS is for the Counter Strike fans. Phi Slop is for the Phi fans out there,
Correct.
right?
Exactly. Exactly. I wanted to make stuff for people who are there for me, right? There's one big goal, and I think underlying rule. I think of a content creator is don't make it about you. Make it about something else. Obviously, I include myself in my videos, but it's not just make sure that people are there for not you and what you're talking about instead. And so, well, FiSlop is there to break that rule. Um, to say like, okay, for people who do want to see things that are there for me, once you get to a big enough point, then you could advertise yourself.
It's high calorie, low nutrition YouTube content.
Something like that. Yeah. It has some decent protein. All right, like a burger has protein
A
in it.
burger,
Just saying.
people laugh, but the McDouble or whatever, they've done a study. It's the most efficient way to hit your macros every day is just eat like 5 McDoubles. This isn't a joke. This isn't a bit. Like someone like looked into it. It's like if you just order it and you don't put like ketchup because ketchup is just sugar. You don't have the fries. You don't have the soda pop. Just eat like 10 McDouble patties on bread with like pickles. Then that's like how you hit your macros every day.
The human digestion system was not meant for that though. So
The human body was not meant for metagaming. Like I and you know, eating like creatine and, pre-workout and, making sure you only eat beans and brown rice and chicken breast. Like the human body wasn't made for that. And
oh
then
man.
yeah, it's I don't know, the gym culture because the if you're a CS content creator, you have two paths. You either you either go swole or you go broke. Like,
Yeah,
right.
why are all I mean, I've met them all. They're all every CS content creator is absolutely yoked. Maybe because I've only seen Tweet A in my life, but yeah.
Talking about final thing for our Q&A section before we hop into the news, the best of five, the top five news stories of the day in North America. Uh, Now that you have kind of entrenched your position and you're in a space where people recognize you, you're known. Who are some newer content creators that you enjoy that you would kind of want to give a shout? Is there anyone you would like to get kind of give recognition to for the work they're doing at like the level you started at?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he's like new to the game, but the content that he produces is super important. I've already mentioned him once in this podcast, but Mahone and the way he's able to present difficult concepts of Counter-Strike is without a doubt deserves way more recognition than he currently does. In terms of getting better at the game, he presents it in a well edited, well produced style, and I think more people hopefully should tune into that if they want to actually like get better at Counter Strike. Mahone Mahone's there for one. Um, else do I really like in the Counter Strike space? Um, there is one thing that I do as a content
He
creator.
likes one other content creator. That's it.
In fact, I actually like zero other content
It's all
creators.
about me. I will never. I will never. You're like a crab. You're like a crab in a bucket. Once you get out, you're.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
say that in a bit of a weird way. I say that because it's kind of a little true, however, because I try to watch content from outside of the Counter Strike space so that I know what I could do to bring something new into the Counter Strike space, basically. So I'm not watching other Counter Strike YouTubers and saying, "Hey, I want to try and copy what they're doing." Instead, I'm trying to bring in new ideas into Counter Strike. So, believe it or not, I don't really watch too much other CS content. The work that King T does for Tier Two, respect that. That'll be my other shout. Shout outs to King T for what he does for Tier Two Counter Strike because more people and Dweg, by the way. Shout out. There's one person shout out. Shout out to Dweg.
Yeah, we
He's
like
also
Dwag. Nice guy.
yeah. He he's definitely following a bit in my footsteps. Um, going going for the video essay approach of Counter Strike, but I do respect his the video content and the stories that he does try to provide to the scene. So shout out to Dweg.
Nice. Yeah, we like Dwag. I think you touch on something there that we mentioned in the pre-show is that as a content creators, I don't know if you relate to this at all, but I have a hard time sometimes after work, after doing my own thing, going and then watching other people's content or following, like
Right.
watching a podcast, watching a YouTube video, reading other people's articles and stuff, just because it's like you spend 8 or 9 hours doing your own thing in Counter Strike. When you have free time, it's not necessarily you want to like go and be like, ah, yes, like I just finished writing about a match. Let me go watch someone else break down a match during my when I'm in bed. Like
Exactly.
there are some content creators who can do that. Like I think the classic example is someone like Thorin. He just lives and breathes Counter Strike. He'll create his content, and as far as I'm aware, then he'll do like 2 podcasts, and then he'll just go and check out other stuff. Like, but I think for a lot of people, the thing if you're a content creator for X, then you don't necessarily want to spend all your free time you know watching X casually.
Right. And I mean, I watch content casually, but again, I also whenever I watch a YouTube video or some video essay, I always, absorb what they did well and what I didn't like, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to bring? So I'm always bringing in new case studies to Counter Strike.
Yeah, it's if you watch it, I think you can fall into the trap too, where you're like analyzing it for like your own, you're
Right.
analyzing it from a professional aspect rather than just going in for pure enjoyment. And I think that's kind of like what separates uh, when you're a creator from being a fan. Is like a fan can go and watch a video and be like, yeah, I like that. I like the points they made. I like the editing. Whereas you're like, oh, I gotta like take you're like I gotta internalize something. I gotta take something away from the other person's work that I can use to make myself stronger so I can learn from them so I can eventually defeat them on the YouTube content creator hierarchy. Uh, and defeating our enemies, I think, is an important part as we head into the news story because that's the big thing about Counter Strike is defeating your enemies and winning
True.
tournaments and winning games, taking
True.
your opponents down. And before we hop into the news, I just want to give a quick shout out to a tournament platform where you can take your opponents down and defeat people and become stronger, which is INUI, which is a new matchmaking platform. Who you might have seen is the sponsor of the Dustiest Eagle Master Series, which is a event series that we're running on the INUI platform. We're actually heading into our fourth event next week after the qualifier, pardon me, 2 weeks from now for our final qualifier. And they've been a huge supporter of the NA scene. This will be our fourth event of the year. We're running 5 events, each with a $10,000 prize pool, inviting some of the best NA teams. They are a new platform that's in beta right now. They're doing a lot of work to improve their platform, but some things that I really like that they do in their early days is they have something that other platforms have been adapting is when you create an account on Inui, you have to do identity verification. You have to show a third party your driver's license. You have to take a picture of yourself, and that essentially makes it so that on the Inui platform you can't have Smurfs because I think we know all too well about the risks of Smurfs on other matchmaking platforms where it's like a player gets banned and then like a week later someone with the same voice, same tendencies, same skills comes in and you're like, okay, that's just the same guy with like a wacky name. Another thing they're doing that I appreciate is they're working really hard to introduce AI to their anti-cheat system. And I know anti-cheat is like a buzzword in the sense that you have AI powered fridges, you have AI powered pens, you have AI powered cars, probably AI powered headphones. Like everything could be AI powered, but I think in the anti-cheat space it will be a important aspect because um anti-cheat right now is essentially powered by we update our anti-cheat so we can see if like there's if someone's using a cheat that's on the market, they're using a DMA card, etc. But we have to know like what that cheat looks like. We have to know like what the program is running in the background so it can be flagged and taken down. But their whole goal with their AI anti-cheat is to eventually, if a player plays like too well, it has like too much knowledge, is never missing shots, is playing in a way that a human can't possibly play, the AI will say like, hey, this person clearly isn't playing like how I know a human will play. And then the energy team can look at that and kind of use that as the first step. So it takes it one day it'll take the FACEIT won't need, FACEIT or other platforms won't need to be aware of the cheat. They'll just need to be aware of the tendencies that a cheat would, have a human player be like. And then the final thing is just the fact that they're supporting, tournament operators all around the globe. Of course, they support it. They're supporting us through the Dustiest Eagle Master Series. They're supporting tournaments out in France. They've done a couple women's tournaments to trade it, and it's nice to see, that a new tournament organizer slash matchmaking platform is like getting involved in the space rather than just being like, here's our product, enjoy it or don't. They're actually trying to give people a reason to support it, and especially in North America, where you almost have, unless you're one of the big two tournament organizers, we almost never have tournaments. So it's nice to see them supporting the NA space that way. And with that, we'll hop into the news. The first thing I wanted to talk on is uh, a recent matchmaking story is the tale of nocries. Uh, so for those who don't know, nocries is a player who, as far as I'm aware, came from Russia to go study in North America, and he started playing FACEIT and rose to the top ranks of FACEIT while there was accusations flying about him being a cheater. He gets called out by a lot of content creators, gets called out by players like Cooper, other players on FACEIT, and he then gets an invitation, much like Rob's back in the day, gets an invitation to play at the FACEIT HQ, to play in front of FACEIT's admins with a completely clean setup. And the sort of outcome of the story is that he proved that at least he can play at some level akin to his uh, level online. What are your takes on this no cries guy fi?
um, I think a lot of people who accused him of cheating, well, obviously, first things first, content creators got their hands on this guy, basically. We'll call them the entertainment bunch of content creators.
Pejorative.
Yes. And They're filled with a lot of like a lot of the casual viewer base. So no cries, an accused cheater gets exposed to the casual fan base. The casual Counter Strike fan base runs into cheaters all the time. Like on FACEIT, you rarely run into a blatant cheater ever. Um, but no offense, they ain't good enough to tell if a guy is cheating or not. Anyone who is, I mean, I've been accused of cheating. I think a lot of us have just had, it's a good feeling when someone accuses you of cheating. Don't get me wrong. But
I'm just confused when people accuse me of cheating because it's like I'm not good at I'm terrible. So people are like it's so fucking blatant you're cheating, and I'm like, is it?
yeah, uh, I can, no offense, Jeff, but I can also verify that statement.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, I mean, now you don't need to apologize for insulting yourself. Like, it's like I'm not gonna be like, don't talk about Phi that way. Like,
Oh my goodness. But yes, like I think players who don't have the credibility to accuse someone of cheating got their hands on the no cry situation. Now, a lot of people in North America, like even at the top echelons, including myself, because I've actually queued with him, um, you see a guy with less than 1,000 matches at 3,500 elo and with like a 1.8 KD. And you're like, well, that's like the most obvious cheater I've ever seen in my life. Um, but everyone who like watches him play can't really say that he isn't cheating, or that he is cheating rather, because his aim is sharp but not perfect. People say that, oh, his game sense is unbelievable. I saw this, you know, default Twitter profile picture post like clips of no cries cheating. There was one where he like pre-fired an angle before a player was about to peek. That can be justified in a couple of ways, but just one suspicious shot is not enough to. I mean, if you watch maybe 100 of my demos, you'll probably see me do something like absolutely insane that looks like I'm cheating. But there were things like he's watching his teammates are making a bunch of footsteps and then he turns back and watches the murder hole. That has been done tons of times in professional play as well, where your teammates stop by making footsteps, but I'm going to go hold the flank because if someone hears basically no cries being a step ahead of his opponents. As, someone who is 4,300 elo probably should be. And, he just makes smart decisions instead of like this guy is blatantly cheating. There is a theory out there that people say, well, this is just a really good player who actually got his hands on cheats that makes him, better to the next level. Um, well, I mean, if you want to make that accusation, but there's no like definitive evidence that says that No Cries is cheating, and he's the future of the game. Team Liquid. I'm just saying, if the leads don't work out, you got your man.
there's a lot to break down here because you said like normies are the worst and they think everyone's cheating. Like they think it's like a Republican like Republican exposition of like a major American city where like you take one step outside and you're getting mugged, and then like you get your purse stolen immediately, and then there's people like Fenty freezing on the side of the road like constantly like it's like they think Face It is just crime alley and there's like thousands of cheaters,
Yeah.
which is clearly patently not true. Like they think everyone's shitting. I did see like before we went to Face HQ, there was like some discourse where it's like, oh, once the Europeans get their hands on this player, they're just gonna say like he's not cheating because they hate America and they say America's abysmal dog shit. So like there's like
Oh,
in
I have a
yeah.
take as
Okay,
well
here's the
because all
take.
these Europeans who are saying like, no cries, just your average 3,500 elo player, and you're like, oh, just watching these pugs, it's looking at the state of North American pugs. My guy, watch your own pugs. I'm just saying, North American pugs are not that different than
I
EU
know, like
pugs.
these fucking people think
It,
like
it
every
really is a
player.
superiority complex, but I'm straight up serious. A 2,500 elo NA player is about the same as an EU 2,500 elo player. I'm just gonna say that there's not much of a difference. You guys are the same as us, but this superiority complex has got to stop. Believe it or not, like there's one thing is that like Premier in EU is legendarily easier than North American Premier. I'll also just say that as well.
I mean, because these people are like, these people are like they're like, yeah, the only reason he's cheating is because NA's abysmal dog shit, and it's like, come on now, like let's be serious. And then so like that's one angle where it's like in all things in life, there's a circle jerk, and then there's an anti-circle jerk, and then there's the and then there's also the anti-circle jerk where it's like, there's the original opinion, and then there's the contrarian opinion, and then there's the anti-contrarian opinion. And so it's like hard to even break down like what people actually think about no cries on Twitter, because some people are literally just like, he's cheating because I'm a bandwagon, and they're like, I'm not cheating. He's not cheating because I'm not a bandwagon. And there's people like, oh, he is cheating because I'm not a bandwagon opinion haver. And it's like hard because I will be honest, for a while there, like everyone was saying it's cheating. I was like, without the ability, on my own to eye test someone like that, I was, turning to people and being like, okay, if people I trust say they think he's cheating, I'm gonna go with them and say he's probably cheating. And then he gets taken to the FACEIT HQ, or rather, he goes of his own free will. He wasn't, like bag over the head dragged to New York. He goes to the FACEIT HQ of his own free will, and he plays there. He does some interviews. He takes pictures. He's a person that exists. But for me, when I look at the situation, I think so many people are expecting him to turn out to be like a ROPS level player, where it's like, he goes to the Face HQ, and then Mousesports are like, okay, we sign you, and then you're gonna win a major with us, and da 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 da. But I think what a lot of people are missing here is that there's a world in which No Cries, because he's just in America for school. There's a world in which he keeps playing while he's in college, then goes back to Buryatia in Siberia, and then just works at like a car factory or something. We never hear from him again. I think so many people are like so excited about the narrative of having a second Robs that they're kind of ignoring the fact that, like, one, he's not playing in North America professionally, guys. Like, let's get real here. It's much more likely he goes back to Europe and plays for like Paravision or like, I don't know, Gun 5 or Hotu than he does to play for like Marsborn or, Blue Jays or Skin Rave.
Yeah, he's not the savior of NA Counter Strike.
I like we're literally talking about someone who's like a Mongolian student, or pardon me, a Russian Buryat student, as he's like going to be the savior of North America. And it's like, come on, like he doesn't even live, he's not even from our country. Like, I mean, Laxey's our
I
savior,
know, right?
like Laxey is our savior, but that's different. He's one of our, he's affiliated with us. No Prize is not affiliated with us, but I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed when we never get a good resolution of this story, because for me, like my opinion is that I need to see him play on a team, and I need to
I
see him
do
play on a
too.
real land. Like I can't take the Face It HQ adventure and be like, oh, he just played good in pugs on pickup matches on Face It, therefore he's not cheating. I need to see like what actually comes next, and I think a lot of people need to see that too. But there is a universe in which it just never happens. Like he could literally just be like, oh yeah, I was just playing for fun. I'm just really good, but I don't really give a shit, so I'm just retiring. I would need to talk to him and get some, look at the interview with him. But like
I don't I
this
don't think
isn't
it would make sense because have you seen that he's at like 10K Twitter followers instantly? I think, let me see this. Yeah, he's at 14.1K Twitter followers, and he basically gained all of those in the last week.
Okay, yeah, I
There's
was gonna say, like, I did check his Twitter like 2 weeks ago, and he's at like 4, so like that's
yeah,
kind of crazy.
I mean his Twitch, his stream announcement got 4.8K likes on Twitter. You know,
His
I
oh
mean,
yeah,
I'm
his
sure he's streaming in front of like 5K viewers, right?
oh
There's
yeah, his
no
Face
way.
It CS2 thing, 1 million impressions on Twitter. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just cynical, but like I just don't want people to assume that he is gonna go and have like a pro career or anything. Like until we see some proof, like there's no evidence that he will have a pro
His
career.
next stop, he plays a Dima Wallhacks 1v5. All right, he's no cry. That could be so funny. No cries wallhack 1v5. Sorry, I'm laughing too much at the irony. I'm
Yeah,
laughing
yeah.
at the irony.
I
I'm
and I
laughing
would
at the
I would
irony.
I think he actually does want to attend one of like the smaller frags, so that'd be kind of cool to see him at. But for me, like I have no, I can't have an opinion on whether he's shooting or not until I see him actually play with the team, because I think that's like where someone who's has potential will either like will fly or will sink or swim, in the sense that like once he actually has to play in a team environment where it's like the pressure of competition, someone's telling him what to do as an IGL, then we'll know for sure whether he's, for whether he's 100% legit, or he's just, a good enough player who also happened to cheat, because that does happen too, where you have a player who's good and then they use external assistance to become great.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I honestly hope that he's an up and coming talent because what a story it would be, you know, having another ROPS arc. And also, like, there's one thing that's happened as well with the Snow Cries drama. It's actually brought a lot of new players to face it, right? It's exposed, the idea of face it to a lot of the casual Counter Strike audience, and I'm really happy that more people are getting into face it. Um, it, I'm a face it grinder for the last. I mean, honestly, I don't even have a lot of matches. Still have less than 1K matches, so I can't really call myself a grinder. But I play face it, at least 3, 4 times a week. And I really enjoy it. It actually feels, believe it or not, solo queue face it is sometimes pretty rewarding.
Happy for you, bud. Happy you found your outlet. For me, after a long day at the office, I just enjoy a good, good CS2 like agency pug or like a. Oh, agency is so good, man. You don't know.
It's I've always had this competitive itch. Obviously, it talks like going back to Yu-Gi-Oh, right? But I always like playing something competitively. I did well in Yu-Gi-Oh, and like I like focusing and improving at something
Mhm.
as my hobby.
Did you know actually agency? You know agency, right? CS
Of
agency.
course, I know
Do you know
agency,
the
legendary.
CS2 version actually has additions to the map? Like there's new routes you can take.
Whoa, really? Now
Yeah.
are you meta defining on agency right now?
Oh,
Is Jeff the future?
you can be such a scumbag at agency because like there's new areas that you need to like be boosted in to get the hostage, but you can just like hang out there and people don't know you're like it's a railing outside of the hostage room. And you can just shoot them. It's a great map. I love it. All my friends hate it. They don't want to play agency.
Real interesting. I'm
Thanks.
not gonna.
Thanks
I
for
won't be.
pretending.
I'll next time I play agency, dude. I'm
Now,
calling it the Jeff strat, and
thanks for pretending that like my off that the game mode got abandoned. The hostage game mode. Thanks for letting me ramble about it. You will be happy to know Italy and Office are completely unchanged for the last 15 years, but that's okay. Um, but I think my final word on it is remember for every ROPS we also have a doc. Remember doc D
uh.
D0CC Duke
Oh, yes,
doc.
yes, yes. That is true.
Remember he
Yeah.
went to the Face HQ and he was supposed to be like the hot shit and then just didn't really do anything. Like
No, he was.
no,
I mean, I like for all I know, he's basically retired.
yeah,
I
like
mean,
I
he
think he
played on like some Dutch teams, and he wasn't even good on those.
and he played with like a Lobanitsa, Lobanjica at the RMR in Mongolia, or no, in Shanghai, but like that was kind of pointless. Like, so it's he's someone we will watch with great no crisis is someone we will watch with great interest for the future. But for me, I think like the jury's still out for me on whether or not he's a 100% legit and whether or not he can make something out of this opportunity.
Yeah. I hope he does. I'm
It'd be
looking. I'm
cool.
it keeps me engaged in Counter Strike. What is next for No Cries?
What is next for Noble? And then real final thing. So he's from Russia, right?
Right.
But he's from an ethnic group called Buryats.
Hmm.
And you know what ethnic group Buryats are closely related to?
What is that?
Mongols.
Oh,
Mm.
oh,
Apparently, they speak a very similar language, and they live close to each other. So maybe he'll be the next. Maybe he'll be like the next techno or something. Go back to Russia, go start like go join the Mongolian scene, or go join the Russian scene. I don't think he's joining the NA scene, quite frankly. Like I think that's the most. I think that's the most unlikely outcome.
hmm. I mean, I wonder. Obviously, it's culture, right? What's the cultural difference between, say, for No Cries? Is he like more at home in North America, EU, or does he want to go play for the Huns? So
I really don't know. I think he, as far as I'm aware, I think he's here for school, and that's kind of it.
okay.
But I mean,
Hmm.
I've only talked to the guy once on Twitter.com, so it's not like it's not like I've like have a deep, intimate understanding of his motivations in life. He could, for all we know, he could actually be like, I'm here for school, like wink, and he's actually here for Counter Strike, and he just had to trick his parents. Like that could it could be it. So the future's like looking up for him, but and that kind of segments me into our next topic. He's looking up, but you know who's looking down recently? CLASIA. So to kind
Oh
of
boy.
introduce this topic to us, for those who don't know, CLASIA was playing for Blue Jays. Then they went to Skin Rave about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks ago. He got benched from that squad because he just apparently, according to the team, he was in a pug. He just gave up in the middle of the pug, disconnected, and refused to play for them ever again. And this is a familiar story for those who've been following CLASIA or CLASIA's history. His story throughout Counter Strike is, he's a very promising rifler, seems extremely skilled, but has always kind of failed in the team aspect and the maturity aspect. Notably, getting kicked from teams like RBG, from Nouns, from Gaming Gladiators. And it seems like he hasn't really learned anything from that. And I think you could potentially provide some good insight from that because he's kind of a player who's like the same age as you, kind of came up the same time you did. So maybe, maybe he's someone has he ever been someone who's been on, been of interest to you that you followed?
Yeah. I mean, he at one point was the best mechanical player in all of North America. Back when he was playing on RBG, he was without a doubt. He was like taking over games versus Furia. Like he was diffing Queserado and Yuri in their prime. Like Clasia is going to be a huge what if in Counter Strike, but he just couldn't keep it under wraps. I was always a huge fan of his gameplay as well. He's very just hyper aggressive, just always leveraging the fact that he's gonna hit the headshot first. He was a very streaky player. Like he'd have his ups and downs, but like half the time he's just gonna say, "I'm gonna win now," and that would be such a valuable piece for a team that a lot of North American teams just didn't have. They didn't have this kind of player who says, "I'm just gonna win now." And like players who were coming up around his time, like Swisher and Hext, didn't didn't really have that same kind of ceiling that Clasia did. And I'm just been disappointed. And obviously he took a more like extended break sort of after like Evil Geniuses, not really playing for signed rosters or anything like that. And at that point I think the bus he missed the bus and I don't know if he's ever gonna get picked up again, realistically. We've said
I
that
don't even
every
think he
time.
deserved. I don't even think he deserves to. Quite frankly, that's like my hot take on him. Is this is like his fourth or fifth time blowing it, and to add extra salt to this wound, Skinrave had a universe in which they do really good at Knoxville, they do really
They
good at
screwed
Blocktober.
he ruined their chance at the major.
He
I'm gonna
ruined their
say
chance of
that.
making the major. Like that's an unforgivable. That's like a mortal sin of a
He
player is like
like
sandbags him. He goes down infamy like Smooya when when he screwed big before that one. I think before FACEIT or whatever, the FACEIT major. That's like an unforgivable sin, is costing a team a major because of you're selfish and you're immature. And I said it on Twitter. Like I don't think unless he significantly changes his outlook on life and his maturity, like I wouldn't give him another chance after this.
Skin Raver basically I would just say they're done
They're done.
as well. Like they needed to win the ECL season 50 cup in North America, but then they lose to wild card. So um like they miss out on like another like 50 to 100 points with that ECL cup. And yeah, no, he screwed their major chances. He actually screwed the whole team over. Now, if they didn't I I don't know what to say, man. Skin Rave, genuinely good team. I think they could genuinely do well at Frag Blocktober if they held it together, just on paper. But that was one of the most frustrating things for me is he cost a North American team a chance at a major, like a surprise appearance for a major as well. A chance to bring a bunch of new players back to the top of Counter Strike. Put Cryptic in a major, put Laxi in front of like an international LAN. That's sick. Well, that's been blown.
I mean, and it's a new org. They invest into Counter Strike,
Exactly.
and then they
He
immediately go to
lasted
the major.
7 days. He lasted 7 days on that team. 7 days. He got signed to Skin Rave and they got booted.
Like I'm sure Scary management probably feels like Jack, like to some degree, they feel like Jack is for signing this team because even if they had a remote chance of making the major, I'm sure that played into their decision to sign this team
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, we'll go with a cheaper option in North America, moneyball it, try to get to the major off the back of this team that has a mathematical chance of doing it, and then the team has to go with them hand in hand to be like, oh yeah, sorry, our star rifler has decided to fuck off and refuses to play with us now, and if you like, so I'm gonna go through the results in up to him getting benched. So starting with the first Dustiest Eagle Master Series. So this is when they were still announced, but this is the same VRS core. So second place. Then they go to NA Revival Series, second place versus NRG. Then they go to EPL, second place losing to NRG again. Skip a few events. They go to Fragadelphia 19. So this was Blue Jays. Fourth place, falling to Fluxo. Still gained a ton of points there. NA Revival Series, second place losing to M80. CCT, third, fourth place losing to NRG. NA Revival Series, third, fourth place losing to M80. ECL Cup 1, second place losing to NRG. And then Eagle Master Series, number 3, win versus Getting Info. Fragville, top 8, losing to Audic. So every single event they attended with him, in the last 6 months, they were getting third, fourth, second place, top 8
They're the third best
finishes.
team in North
The
America.
only
Like,
the only teams that
definitively
the
third
only
best
teams
team
they
in
were
the
losing to were NRG and M80, which is no shame in that. Those two teams are going to the major. If there's 10 spots and you're the third best team in North America, that means you're probably going to go to the major. He decides to blow up after Frag, ahead of an ECL match, and then you have to bring in Tommy, their coach, Axe, to play for them. And even with Tommy playing the entirety of the most recent ECL Cup you mentioned, they still finished in fourth place. They were getting wins over. Let me see. They played a
not the
close game
best,
against.
not the best teams, but they still play close games against Wildcard and Marsborn. Still,
They had to forfeit map 2 because of a. So they play Marsborn. They lose map 1, 16-14, or 16-12, excuse me. And then they have to forfeit a second map because of, I think, a DDoS. They go in, they play wildcard. They take a loss 13-8, 13-10 with their coach. Like they could have, if they had CLASIA, they were
I
running a
casted
little.
that game, by the way. I cast that Wildcard.
And what was your takeaway? Do you think if they had CLASIA, they would have won that series?
Absolutely, they win. They win 2-0 if they have CLASIA. Like, flat out. Like, that's after casting the game, that's what like kind of pissed me off, because a lot of the time Axe was just like losing a head to head versus some of Wildcard's aggro riflers, basically Fiku just like running it down top mid on CT side Dust 2. And like, if they like, no shame to Axe, like he did what he can, but he's obviously just in a tough spot. But um God, if they just had the floor, they probably they at least win a map. Okay, first of all, they win Inferno. The Skin Rave were up 9-6 on Inferno. They got a great start, and then they just coughed up a couple of situations.
It's so frustrating. It's something that
every
happens.
time we try to take a step forward, we always take 2 steps back.
It's always because of It's always because of a player's hubris or a player's ego in North America that we fail. Like
it's difficult because here in North America, we don't have that same kind of professional pipeline that Europe has, where Europe builds professionalism over a long period of time with lots of signed organizations and experienced individuals. And we're kind of like, we are just like hillbillies out here, all right, in the Counter-Strike world, where we just don't really have those same fundamentals that are just drilled into us from day one. We're still, a lot of us still mentally are high schoolers, all right? And like, that's gonna, no matter how good you are at the game, if you have the mental of a high schooler, you're not gonna be able to, like, you might have a moment. Lots of NA teams have had a moment, and obviously M80 and the teams that are competing at EPL are kind of exempt from this discussion. But you can have a little strong moment. You could pull off a big upset, but rarely do people here in North America have the work ethic and the drive and the mental to actually like push through and improve and continue to evolve into better players. So, and
it's just a
they
mess.
blow it. Sorry, I've just going
No,
on a
I
rant here, but
no. I mean,
I've
by
been
all means.
it's been 5 years watching this shit, guys. Come on, for Jeff, it's been 8. So
It's like the thing is with him. So I mean, you can go through so many stories with him. Like when he slept through that match, I think for
that was Exceed, but still
no
same
no
same
no
same theme.
no dog.
No, wait, he slept through. Wait, there's
No,
where did I miss
Exceed, no,
this?
no. Exceed had Sleeper Gate. CLASIA also had Sleeper Gate.
Bruh.
Do you not remember? Let me see if I can find this real quick. Give me a second. In ESL Challenger League playoffs, season 43. CLASIA EG Black advanced after player sleeps through a match. On Vendetta, he slept through a match in ECL playoffs.
There's no way.
Yeah, wait. Let's see. He got cut from RBG for attitude problems. That's when I think they brought in someone to replace him. I think it was maybe Grape or something at that point to replace him.
I'm gonna snipe that really quick. I think it was
Jitter. They brought Jitter to
Jitter.
replace him, which that's a whole mess of its own.
Yep.
He got cut from Game and Gladiators, and honestly, that's fucked up. That you're on a team with like Carson, Jazz Pimp, George, and they think you're too toxic and damaged goods to play with. Like that means you must be a really big pain in the ass. Gets cut from Evil Genius Black after like a month or two. Remember
Yeah.
Evil Genius he goes to that boot camp and then he immediately gets benched like a month later.
Yep.
If we know how history played out, that Evil Geniuses Black team goes on to be the main Evil Geniuses team. Most players for that Evil Genius squad, even though Evil Genius itself was a mess, players like Hex have a proper career now. Players like Chopped are doing pretty good things. Walko's, obviously on the Skin Rave team. If he just stuck around and wasn't such a pain in the ass on Evil Geniuses, he probably would be on the main Evil Geniuses team, and then you could parlay that onto being like a team like NRG or a team like M80, because we did see, that Evil Geniuses core in the fullness of history goes on to become NRG.
Yep.
So it's like
Yeah.
he's had all these fantastical opportunities to perform and to make it
And
onto
be a
bigger
pro
teams.
and be paid to play video
Like,
games. I just don't understand it. You can be organizationless and do whatever the hell you want. But if you are one of the very few players in North American Counter-Strike to be paid to play this damn game, put on your tie, man. Straighten your tie. Buckle your belt, man. It's like I would dream. Many people would dream to be in your situation, and I know, maybe people haven't put as many hours in Counter Strike as you had, or shoot heads as hard. Well, if I had a contract at my door, I'd be playing for 12 hours a day, maintaining a good sleep schedule, and not being an asshole to my teammates.
I mean, the
To be
biggest thing for him
paid.
is just like I don't even care if he has a regular sleep schedule or practices enough. Just don't be an asshole. Like, is the big thing for me. Like, he's such a put the fries in the bag kind of player, where it's like
I
it's
I know.
no matter
Mhm.
how good he is, he's just like uh he's just toxic. And
Yeah, I know. I know we are all looking in from the outside in. We're not professional players, right? We are from the third person, but maybe that gives us even more right to talk about this situation, because it at the end of the day, it does not matter what like happens in the server, or who did what, or who said this and that. You've been kicked 5 times from your team. That is and that's just unacceptable, no matter what happened in the server or whose fault it was. Um, so
and
anyways.
it's like the same guy who's like kicked him like 5 times. It's been
Nope.
different leaders too. Like at that point, you kind of have to be like, like what's the is it that everyone has it out for him, or is it that he has it out for himself and he's the one causing the problem? Because it just, I mean, what use Occam's razor, figure out the most obvious explanation, which is just he apparently crashes out on teams and then gets benched because of it, or benches himself. Moving on from that, there's the other side of the equation here. With the ECL ending recently, Skinrave did come back up to full strength with the addition of Markey from Getting Info. I haven't honestly put too much thought into that change. Do you have any kind of reactions to picking up Markey?
It's goaded.
It's
I think,
goaded.
yeah, it's goaded. Unfortunately, it's too late for Skinrave to make the major, I think. Unless they like go out and they win Blocktober, like just absolute cinema, Skinrave pop off in the tournament of their lives and like win Blocktober.
But like that's just like insane levels of balling out of control. You know what I mean? Like
No,
that's a
because like
hard.
we'll talk about Blocktober, but that teams list is ridiculous. Oh wait, also I just noticed, Skinrave on the Blocktober registered players list has CLASIA
Oh, okay. So
still.
that's some important meta context. Frag releases a roster sheet for Blocktober. We'll get into that when we talk about the event, but just so and I don't mind sharing this like on broadcast. What Frag does is you register a roster on X date, and then if you make any changes, you have to make them at the door. So
I
you're
see.
saying, oh, we showed up with Markey instead of Clasia, and they're like, okay, and they just kind of pencil in Markey on top of Clasia, but they don't like babysit teams and be like, "Oh, I heard you made a roster change. Would you like to update your roster?" Like that's you know what I mean?
I
Like
see. I see.
that's not
Yeah,
something
yeah,
they
yeah, I
give
know
a
what you
shit
mean.
about. So it's like you can
But
change your roster at the door, but this list will be a little bit fucky because of that.
yeah, but basically, Skinrave have like a near 0% chance of making the major. So just, I mean, good change. I think they'll still be the third place team here in North America to like M80 NRG. Um, Wildcard have been super shaky, but probably a, like 50-50 with them in wild card. Um, but realistically,
Fuzi clearly doesn't want to be here, but he's also playing well enough that like it doesn't really matter. Like
yeah,
they've risen up to friend of the show, Mischief CS2, posted on September 26th, which was 3 days before he filmed this, that they have a 60% chance of making the major or 65% chance, whereas Skinner has a 20% chance. So I would say, they probably will make it, especially when we consider the fact that like teams like 9Z and 9Z especially did bad at that one Brazilian land Frigi Rush or whatever.
G.
Fairgy Rush. That just helps wildcard if the teams below them have a bad run.
Oh my god,
I
yeah,
think the
I just saw that 9Z got eliminated, got grouped. I was like paying attention to that yesterday. I'm like, okay, 9Z 1-1. Oh my god, they got grouped. Okay. Yeah, that puts 9
9Z is the potential team of the world. Like 9Z is South America's potential team. Potentially could do good. Doesn't. Zero
uh
trophies, zero.
that's Lucan's career in a nutshell. But anyway.
Lucan isn't on 9Z anymore.
Yeah, he is.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah,
Oh,
huh?
I'm thinking Mayor. My bad.
You're thinking of Mayor. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lucan's that's Lucan's career in a nutshell. It's like, wow, he puts insane numbers up. So
Grouped.
at
Drowned in pools.
international LAN appearances.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think the marquee edition's good. Unfortunately, I mean, it's one of those changes they had to make like under duress, so it's hard to see like the vision. They probably just had to find someone that could like snap up really quickly who's a competent rifler to replace him. My only thought on it is Marky's always been someone to me that I feel like has struggled with like motivation or finding like the will to survive, like the will to achieve. I think that's kind of part of the reason why he's ended up on teams like Getting Info rather than a team like Mars Warren or something. But I mean, regardless of his sort of outlook on his pro career or anything, he is of course a good player. So it's hard to view this as a bad move. It just kind of the timing makes you kind of go like,
Hmm.
because they won't. It's almost certain they won't win Frag because they have such limited reps against European teams, and there's gonna be a shit ton of European teams there. And so it's just all sad. Makes me sad.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I think Marky, if Marky stickers would kind of go hard.
they
So
would kind of go hard though, and if that make up for when he was on Chaos, when he was on Bad News Bears, when he was on all these other teams, coming so close so many times to making. He wasn't on Bad News Bears. I'm
extra
Chaos,
salt.
Extra Salt. Excuse me. Yeah. Make up for all those times where he came close and didn't get over the hump. With us talking so much about Fragadelphia Blocktober, I think it'll be good to jump into that topic next, as that's the sort of big LAN of the big North American land of the season. Right now, as the lay of the land is, Europe's having Draculan, Birch Cup, and Landalan, and those kind of serve as the major qualifiers for their regions. While Blocktober, which will start on Thursday, is the big land for North America.
You say it's the big land for North America, but look at all the
When it's
EU teams there.
yeah, when it's actually another just psych, it's another European armor. uh, Blocktober's coming up this Thursday, and it has just an insane team list of NA teams, European teams, South American teams. It's a real who's who of who's trying to get a spot in the major. And there's a lot to break down here. I think the first thing would just be to kind of like look at the team list and see who kind of stands out to you. Um, I'll let you take a look at it kind of while I talk about the event
Mhm.
itself, and then kind of give me some of your initial thoughts on who you're excited to see in Fragadelphia October. So this land's going to run on Thursday to Sunday. It has, I believe, something close to 40 teams. Unfortunately, some teams have dropped out or pulled out, so the team list has sort of shifted a bit. But $10,000 on the line, tons of RMR points. Like most Fragadelphia lands, we've seen a huge turnout from European teams who have kind of, this is sort of a land of last resort for them. If they do poorly at their European events, they can come here, beat some European tier 2 teams, beat some North American teams, and have huge VR swing because of that. If you remember at the start of the year, Nip went to Frag Vegas and they were like 80th in the world, and they ended the event 39th in the world, just beating a handful of European teams in
And they
Shark. So
got
of
like
course,
invited to a closed qualifier for PGL Astana and then did well at PGL Astana. And now they're a tier 1 team.
and now they're a tier 1 team. So with that, I'll kind of throw it to you. What's got you excited in the team list for Frag Blocktober?
So it's all about the VRS standings and teams to pay attention to. Saw are attending. Well, obviously there's Team Liquid, and all
Okay, yeah.
the Leaves rocking up to Fragadelphia is pretty damn sick for the North American community. I'm sure, like just people People would just want to show up to see Team Liquid play. So suddenly Blocktober becomes a spectator event more than just an event for players, which is what Fragadelphia has slowly been building into. I really feel like it becomes, especially with the venue that we're in, it's a very spectator friendly venue.
I do like that
So
venue for the spectator side of things. Some frag venues aren't necessarily the best for the spectator side of thing, but this is definitely one that's like a
yeah,
good a good spectator venue.
yes. So teams to pay attention to: Saw. If they play badly, there's so many teams who are actually make or break for the major, not just here in North America. So the last two slots for the Americas is kind of up for grabs. Right now, Sharks put themselves pretty in a decent position as well. The FaZe Rush still needs to finish it up, so we'll kind of know at the end of that event what the Americas is shaping up to be. But I think it's about the last two slots are up for grabs here in North America. Wild card need to not fumble the bag here. And why internally in my soul, I feel them fumbling the bag because I just saw them play. I mean, obviously the Birch Cup has its own things. Obviously, Stanislaw complaining about the tech issues that were happening at the Birch Cup in Gdansk, Poland.
Good dance. But
But
did you see Messioso clap back at
yeah,
their coach?
and
He's like,
The Messioso facts and logic just hit the timeline real crazy
he
right
did
there.
facts and logic Vince because Vince is like, yeah, the computers were shit, the chairs were shit, the schedule was shit, the PCs were shit, and then Messioso
Well,
was like,
you
well, you
signed up for it. Like you made the sandwich. You
and
say
then
you
yeah,
don't. This is not my.
he's like my brother in Christ. It's your own it's a Polish land. Surely you would know better about the conditions of the
Yeah,
venue. Like, and then Vince is like, yeah, got me there
yeah,
because it is you do choose to go to these lands of your own free will, and in some regard, I mean you kind of have to, but also like you pay for what you get.
yeah. Truly, I hate Subway, but you made the sandwich, so
That's why
you
I get Jimmy John's because they just tell me to. They don't give you choices. They say I say number seven, and every time it's a number seven.
know. I shout out Burgie's, my local sandwich shop. Anyways, um, but we have Saw, big to pay attention to. The teams whose major lives are on the line, competing in this. You have Saw, you have Fnatic, you have NIP, then you have, I mean, Bestia basically need to win the tournament,
Yeah,
to
good luck
make
with
it.
that.
Outside chance for Bestia, and then you have Sharks who have put themselves in the running. They're playing decently at Fairgy. We'll see what happens over there. And then Nine giving themselves some like teeny tiny chances as well.
And
Um,
don't forget about OG. I think OG is kind of the outlier
OG,
here because
they
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 just
got
they just won Draculan. So
they're like super still, even despite winning Draculan. Apparently the chances are still really
according
small.
to friend of the show Mischief,
Oh, never mind. It's 27%. You're right.
that's
So
listen, that's like more than 25%. That's you roll a die, you roll a four-sided die, and that's like that's I mean that's enough to justify attending is a 25% chance,
yeah,
especially if they go and win it. You could see a world in which they sneak in above a team. Like, let's say
yeah.
like Saw bombs out,
They like lose to Texas's Outlaws or something like that, right?
or
Or like
like
wanted
Gaba
goons.
or like Gabagool.
They not lose the Gabba.
You get Gabagooled.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
They lose the Gabagool and they fumbled the major. Um, but yeah, with teams like Heroic looking worse and worse. Well, they just beat M80, but ignore.
Nice.
Um, uh, but with Heroic's odds looking not great right now. I mean, basically all of Europe is preying on Saw's downfall for Blocktober.
I'm sad we don't
So
get to see Nip at this Blocktober. I think they've pulled out.
yeah, they don't need to. They don't
They
need to
don't.
play it.
There is literally it's interesting that we're kind of in a world where with the VRS where it's like you can be negatively incentivized to play an event.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, that's kind of the theory we all had with VRS. Is like teams are just going to skip out on events because they don't want to lose points. Here we are. They, you know, Team Liquid, Team Liquid were thinking about pulling out of an event. If I remember, I forget which. I mean, obviously, Gentlemates just did Well, we're playing EPL now, even though they had a decent chance to make the major if they
I
continue
don't know
playing the
what
Burge
they're
Cup.
thinking long term, which is probably smarter from the org perspective than gambling it all on a small chance of making the major. But at the same time, like saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna skip the major to ensure we can go to like a PGL like a PGL Timbuktu like later in the year is kind of
They're going to Bucharest, so that's not bad for gentlemates.
um I did like so Ents obviously they got called up to EPL when Virtus Pro got turned away at the border. So HLTV had like a video of them like setting up their PCs and then like 4 hours later they had them packing up the PCs to go to EPL from the Verge Cup. Like that was kind of funny. I did enjoy that. Like literally they retweeted their setting up video with like a packing up video.
That's crazy that you could just like forfeit all your matches mid tournament, just bounce to another. Um, but yeah, so that's Blocktober basically. Everyone praying on Saw's downfall, and for NA, do you believe in the Marsborn sweep of them just winning the whole thing? What if Marsborn sweep at Blocktober to get Grizz stickers in the game?
I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say. I wasn't that impressed with them at Knoxville, so I don't. I have less expectations for them at Blocktober, where there's even better teams. Because when we saw them go to Knoxville, I think they finished top eight. Or no, I don't think they. I don't even think they made. Or yeah, they finished top eight there, and they lost to
Nip.
Nip in a pretty unconvincing fashion. Uh, I don't. This I like this Marsburn team, but at times I feel like they like lack a little bit of firepower. I
That
feel they're
minus
very.
kind of had. So
I do very much enjoy the addition of Sixy as their IGL. I think that's very exciting. Even if maybe he's untested as an IGL, just him adding some sort of X factor to this team, I think is good. I actually did forget about that. Does kind of have me excited about their chances at Blacktober, though I don't think it'll be enough. I think it's too early days from the
I
win it
think
outright.
60 is IGLing as well, if I remember
He is,
correctly.
which is very odd. In a good like
Yeah.
not negatively, just he's never IGL'd before, so like smart career move from him though, by the way, though just kind of as an aside, smart career move from him to be like, hey, what's like the one role that NA doesn't have that can give me some guarantee of job security is like, oh, I'll be an IGL. And then, teams that don't have an IGL might want to pick me up. And that's kind of what happened with Marsborn is they're like, we're like, oh, we want to change things up from Wolfie, so we'll give 60 a try.
Hmm. I think I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but
I'm very
I'm
looking
not sure.
forward to it.
I don't believe too much in the Marsborn sweep, but if it happens, it happens.
If it happens, it happens. That's kind of all you can really
It's
hope for.
it's basically if wild like wild card need to do somewhat decently. But other than that, the last NA slot is for anyone to secure with a good performance at Blocktober.
Or completely uninterestingly a South
Or
American
or or
team.
or, or not
Which is
uninteresting, all right?
I don't know. I don't know. I just Sharks and Bessia just don't have that dog in them at the major. I feel like
Oh, they won't. Oh, whatever the I mean,
nothing ever happens.
nothing. They will be a 0-3 pick.
Yeah,
Even though, I mean, I can shout out. I think the max core pickup for Sharks is Argentinian Opper. Um, he's sick, and I'm actually looking forward to what Sharks can actually. They're doing well at Fair G Rush, so
I just
including
want more
13
NA
owing
teams.
9Z. So yeah, I want more
I would
NA
never
teams.
cheer on a South American team at the expense of a North American team. They've had
True.
too good for too long down there.
Well, we're the hillbilly region of Counter Strike, so we
Yeah.
can't get everything we want.
One of our other topics that I know you really wanted to touch on, and this kind of folds into our discussion of these Birch Cup, Draculand, Fragadelphia, Frigi, all that is VRS is overall our reflections on the VRS system as we approach the second major of the year. And you did say in the pre-show he likes it. What do you like about the VRS system, Phi?
It makes all these games, very important. Obviously, like the RMR, it feels like a little bit. It feels like kind of RMR's kind of felt like Christmas, honestly. You kind of watch all the teams, like, oh my god, big upset and stuff like that. But it really does like keep me engaged for a lot longer to kind of like pay attention to these matches and like what's happening in these in all of these regions and all these little tournaments. And it makes some of these matches have individually more weight. Like Gentlemates versus G2 is like their RMR. Gentlemates are not done. Right now, they're playing as we speak, and Gentlemates are up 8-4 at the half right now. So in map 3 versus G2. If Gentlemates win that, bro, we're in that game. This game suddenly becomes more important, right?
You want to be super black pilled?
But
EPL doesn't count for the major.
well, hold on. Excuse me. Gentlemates are now up 9-3 at the half because Martinez just pulled off a 1v3 at the end of the half, including a no scope on a hunter. I'm looking at the HLTV scoreboard. I just assumed it'd be 8-4. See, uh, okay, so it doesn't. So EPL doesn't count for the major. EPL stage 1.
No,
Not even like these head-to-head matches.
I don't think, because an event has to be done before it gets added to the VRS pool.
Isn't Well, when stage 1 wraps, that technically is the conclusion of an event. It's not a lot of points, but it's some. Obviously,
Oh, I
because
guess you might have a point. I don't know if
when
oh,
stage 1 concludes, it's
because
technically a
HLTV.
$1 prize pool
Oh,
event.
because HLTV has it as 2 events. Oh yeah, that's good shout. Good shout, Fi.
Yeah,
So I think it might
so
actually count for the VRS, because I was thinking like the whole EPL goes until like the end of October, but if
no.
HLTV is split up into multiple different events, then it might actually count. You're right.
Yes, so stage 1 does count for the major. And Gentlemates being up big versus G2 right now is like insane. Is like I mean it would be plus 30 points for Gentlemates and move them up 3 slots. So like all of these little matches matter all of a sudden. Now I'm paying attention to games that I otherwise wouldn't have really cared about. Like Basement Boys doing some crazy shit at Draculand season 2, right? Where like Basement Boys is like team ranked number 235 went out and like and beat everybody and placed third. They beat Passion UA. They beat formerly Complexity. So um yeah, it makes things really interesting. So it really feels like I need to be in a command center. I need to be locked in, paying attention to Fairgy Rush or EPL or Draculand or Birch Cup. Now it's going to be like Blocktober is suddenly going to be a very high viewership event for this reason that it could decide teams going to the major or not.
I do like it as a storyteller to give these lands some degree of importance, because, for what it's worth, like fragments were very important to our scene before the VRS, and they were always cool to tend to see like how teams would do well. But in terms of like macro implications for the scene, like there was essentially no macro implications, because maybe a team could climb in the HLTV rankings and a TO could decide to invite them off the basis of that. But that was never a given. It was always, oh, you did good, you won $5,000 at a frag event. We'll sing your praises, but does that actually translate to something long term? Not
Yeah.
so much. And I do like that, these smaller tiers do get some shine, do get some attention. It forces people to notice. It forces people to attend their events, and it's kind of spreading the wealth in a way, because we don't often think about it, but these teams each are paying $500, $600 to attend. 40 teams times $500 is what, $200,000, if I'm not.
20,000.
No, you sure?
Yeah, 40
500.
times 500 is
Ah, shit, that's not that much money at all. That's only okay.
no, it's
Well,
not.
no, it really isn't. It really isn't when you. Well, shit. I mean, hey, it's bigger than it's smaller than $20,000. $0. Think about
Yeah.
that. Think about that.
True.
I mean, in terms of other long run aspects, if Fragadelphia, for example, gets higher viewership, they can pitch that to sponsors. They can say, "Oh, we have European audience watching us, so maybe someone from Europe wants to sponsor their events." A European company, et cetera, et cetera. And I do think it kind of aligns with Valve's vision of distributing the wealth, distributing the, making the circuit more like democratic and more, less top heavy. Because obviously before, the only events really worth attending were ESL events and Blast events for top teams. There was really no other reason to attend other TOS events, and I think it's succeeded insofar as it's making organizations have to care about your star ladders, your PGLs, your frags, your Draculans, everything below that sort of top tier.
Uh, Sorry, 1 second. I spaced out for a moment because I'm just looking at the Gentlemates game, which
I
is
heard
just
you. I
going
heard you
insane.
crack your knuckles there too. I think.
Yeah, I'm just watching back this Martinez stuff. Um, but it's I mean, the one thing is that like, it just it also just like increasing the production value. Obviously, you're talking about the budgets, right? And the ability, even though like 20,000 doesn't seem like a lot, a 10K prize pool, and then boom, you have 10K to bring elsewhere. You're looking also just Fragadelphia bringing in way more sponsors too, because I mean, Frag getting sponsors is actually like crazy. Like it was like it felt like a bit of a meme back for like Frag 14 and you know pre-pandemic stuff that like Frag would have like real legit sponsors, but now they're sponsored a lot by like Be Quiet and a lot of other peripherals brands as well. So it's just an injection into tier 2 rather than the rich get richer type of thing where a tier 1 tournament organizer in PGL is just hosting an RMR. Um so I mean, I like the spread the wealth uh incentive for uh with the VRS. So I think it's very cool.
It is nice to talk to someone who's, a little bit more bullish on the VRS because there are a lot of people who, I mean, to a degree, rightfully so, that have heavy criticisms of the VRS and see it as just kind of another, half baked Valve idea. But I think there, I mean, in all things in life, there are goods and there are good things and there are bad things to take out of it. I mean, but just as like an aesthetic preference, I do like the VRS aesthetically, and I do like it from like a storyteller
Yes.
perspective, and the ability to tell like coherent stories about the scene that run throughout the entire year can't be understated. Rather than every single event being a disconnected, unrelated, tournament. Oh, a team goes to tournament X and they go to tournament Y, and then you could say, oh, how their form carries on, but there's no like macro implications outside of that. That's something
Mm,
that that's something that I, of course, enjoy. Um, and that's kind of the big thing for me is that like we can always carry on stories essentially from the start of the year to the end of the year and beyond. And that's kind of the big thing for me is that it just increases the potential for like exciting stories that come. Especially you mentioned, Nip essentially came from nothing at the start of the year to the point where they're now most likely going to make the major, and that's all off the basis of them, grinding like dogs and making,
yeah.
grinding like absolute animals and making, making this major off the back of that because they really went to extreme lengths. They've attended pretty much every frag event this year. Have attended all the small lands they can get their hands onto. Done things that
Online grind, everything.
online grind, done things that no team, last year would have ever thought about doing. A Nip would never think, a Snappy exists would never think of going to Fragadelphia as something that is important to them. And even though it might be, somewhat annoying to them and kind of, not their, not the level they want to play at, it's nice that they kind of, that's a
Also, what
viable
Heroic did
alternative.
this year, like we kind of forget that Heroic also did the same thing. They kind of rebuilt nearly from scratch. They took the Sangal core and then did the same thing, grinded a lot of online matches, and then eventually, I believe they won a qualifier, and that's what kind of got them into the top of the VRS ranking. So we've had multiple instances of the VRS grind paying off for a lot of these teams.
Definitely. We're going to move on to our final topic of discussion for today is the recently announced benching of Rain, and obviously Twist comes in to replace him. A heartbreaking move and an exciting move for many reasons. Of course, Rain leaves the roster after something like 2,550 days.
More than
Twist
that,
returns,
3,500.
excuse me, yeah, 3,500 days. Twist returns to the leadership of Kerrigan, and then on the other side of the equation, Alige goes back to Liquid after 3 years with Complexity and with FaZe. So, starting off, what's your initial reactions to all of these moves?
Um, I think the initial question I get is where's Rain going? Because this guy is still tier 1. This guy is still a massive asset to so many teams. Um, there's one thing that really has defined Rain across his career, and that he is a game changing player. That he will, he's a player that just kind of definitively X factor. Now lately, he's tried to be more stable, right? He's moved more into anchor roles, as Elige has moved through, and he still performs. Is the biggest thing. So Rain plays the one thing what I think when I watch Rain play is he rarely makes mistakes. Uh, so extremely stable player, a player that can still have a good peak and still take over games. Very experienced player, and that's just about like if you're building a young team, you want something like that. Or as Simple once said, Rain was Simple's favorite teammate to play with. And I'm sure there's a team out there who would love Rain on their books.
Well, and he also did say he wants to be in IGL moving forward too, which is equally exciting. He's someone who has been obviously Kerrigan's understudy for like 10, essentially for 8 9 years at this point at
Yeah.
various times. So I'm sure he's absorbed a lot of wisdom from Kerrigan, much in the same way that you could see some like Twist. Obviously, Twist worked with Kerrigan, then kind of became an IGL and wanted to, replicate what he did there at Liquid to an extent. So you could see maybe if BC game, if Nexa isn't delivering, you could potentially replace. I mean, hell, you could even just replace Prime Taps with
I think Prime Taps is gone. All right, there you go.
Based. I mean, I don't even know what Prime Taps in a world where BC game are like, okay, we're willing to spend $100,000 a month to keep Simple on board. Isn't the same world where they say, okay, we're willing to keep Prime Taps and Sausanito. Definitely Prime Taps and maybe Sausanito. I'd say Sausanito gives a bit more, but Prime Taps is just kind of such a placeholder player,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'm on the same boat as you with that as well. And I think honestly, Rain would just slot into that team perfectly. I actually think Ondu is very good on BC game. I was actually kind of excited to see that pickup because I think Ondu is actually a very good player and can actually like with some with some time and actually experienced players around him. I think he could actually turn out to be a pretty decent star player into the future. But yeah, Prime Taps, you're gone. Rain in and BC game 2026 major appearance.
Maybe you just say like, oh, because we used to play with Rain on London Conspiracy. Maybe
Wait,
you just
wait, wait. Who
huh?
used to play with Rain on London Conspiracy?
Well, his fellow Norwegian. Maybe you just say, Jacob
Oh,
rehabilitate.
oh, oh,
No,
oh.
no,
I see.
I'm
I
not
see.
saying his career's over. I mean, get a grip. Yeah, like, come on. I mean,
Yeah.
you're laughing, but is it not? Like,
Yes, it is.
it's what are they gonna bring back Joel as well? No, I mean, like, I mean, that could be. I mean, it's not happening, but it could be. But I mean, it's not, but it could. Rain, Jacob, Simple, Andu.
Jacob is not coming back, bro.
He's not coming
But
back.
uh,
No,
but
but
but Rain to BC game seems like instantly the type of move that BC game would make.
I wonder if it's like
So
too large. I wonder if it like makes too much sense though to be the real move. You know what I mean? Like
no,
sometimes
no,
we
no, no, no.
so like
It's
uh,
way too much sense. Like if they're paying 100 like rumored 130,000 for Simple, right? They're gonna do what they can to make that investment happy. And if Simple wants to play with Rain, and I'm sure the organization would also want to play with Rain because he has a good brand and has a good legacy. And BC Game are the type of team to pay a big name player. They're already doing it. Like every box just gets checked for Rain to
but
head
we
to
have to
BC
always
Game.
be cautious of the animeification of esports where it's like where it's like we go for the nerve that has like the most we'll sell the most copies of the manga or whatever the esports manga where it's like oh uh, Rain and Simple because they played together and but I mean, I mean that would be a good. I mean, I know it'd be a good. I just said like why I don't think it will happen, but it could be a good move. I mean, there's no other team that maybe you could say if he wants the IGL, maybe Heroic can pick him up. If they think LNZ isn't delivering anymore. You could see a team maybe like Ninjas in Pajamas if they feel post major if Snappy maybe has a bad performance in the major.
Falcons when
Uh,
they rebuild at the end of the year
if
because
Falcons
they bomb out of the major again.
Yeah, if they bomb out of the major a second time, uh,
I'm waiting for that reality. Anyways.
and his teammate at FaZe, Nico, Rain and Nico reunite. There's something. I
Hmm.
mean, there's something that
You're a big
maybe
nudicer, huh?
I'm a nudicer. I'm noticing that teammates will often like to play with former teammates.
Ooh.
If you say because obviously the Kixen move has come under some degree of criticism for what he's been capable of doing or incapable of doing for that team.
I'm
Uh,
it's not Kicksan's fault. Like
I mean,
they brought Kicksan into this team. Like it's not like Kicksan like signed up for this.
Well, that actually he did when you sign a contract, you.
Well, when someone offers you a bag of money, what are you gonna do? Say no?
I mean, I guess you're right, but like we're just kind of noodling at this point about where Rain could go, and
Yeah, yeah.
I mean he could go to. I think the essentially he could go to a lot of places, and it's. I did like that. I was very happy to see that even when leaving Phase, it wasn't because everyone was like, oh, he's retiring after this, and he's like, nope, not retiring because like
I'm,
Rain is because Rain is eternal. Rain has never been bad.
No, I don't think we can ever say that once about his entire career. Even when he's like going, 1.0 rating, he's gonna have that map where he's just gonna win. He's just gonna say, "We're winning now,"
Oh yeah,
and and for 10 years, Rain has been a good player, and at least from the way I see him playing right now, at least a couple more, he's still gonna be a good player.
it's the
He is
same.
not in bad form at all.
It's the same thing. It's like just to kind of put one more, note on this before we move on is that's like another thing I hate about like Kerrigan haters or like Kerrigan retire bandwagoners, where they're like, "Oh, his numbers are shit." Like, brother, his numbers have been shit for like 10 years. Like, it's not.
Yes.
They're like, how could you possibly keep him on the team when he's posting a .85? And it's like he won a major while posting like that kind of number. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
numbers. I hate number cells is essentially what I'm trying to get at
It's like
here. Like
Kerrigan. I think there's a stat that Kerrigan has like 45 negative events in a row since the Stockholm Major. I think was
yeah,
the
I know. I saw that exact same stat line. And it's like you don't have Kerrigan on your team for like he's not a fragging IGL. He's an IGL because I think most IGLs now I think are expected to deliver some kind of fragging output. Where he's one of those like last IGLs of the old school, like the Fifth Laurens or the Get Rights or the um, countless other examples of like the CS:GO IGLs where it's like you don't need them to frag. So it's just what they bring to the table. Like a Zeus, for example, when Zeus was posting bad numbers, his job there was to kind of flush puppet simple into getting setting up simple for success. And it just like people are like, oh, wait, Kerrigan doesn't fit the model of like the modern CS2 fragging IGL who's like wide swinging and entering and all this shit. But I still don't think you need that. I think he provides more than enough value just from his experience and his input on the team.
Yeah, and I still think FaZe are good. I think Twists as a replacement makes this team. I don't know. We'll see what the team looks like with Jacob, in the roster as well, and kind of more integrating into this team. It's I think FaZe doesn't really like move the needle for me too much. They're still like top 8, not elite. Maybe they have a miracle run and like make a grand final, but it's always FaZe Clan. They can always make any grand final at any time. Um, but I don't really think it changes what FaZe's capabilities are too much.
Yeah, I'm definitely more interested in the Elish to Liquid move than the Twist to Phase move, if that makes sense. Uh,
Yeah.
what are your? I don't want to I don't want to drag this out too long, but what are your kind of thoughts on that Elish move to Liquid? We still haven't seen them play. Well, pardon me, we have seen them play, but we haven't seen them play like a tier 1 team yet. So it's still incredibly early days. But do you think that's going to take Liquid in the right direction after a lot of moves that haven't really resulted in positive growth?
Well, after the miracle at Fisher Playground, we actually will see them at the major. It's just insane that that happened. They were 0-2 down after getting like obliterated by Gamer Legion, and then they just like turned the whole tournament on its head. The
Legitimate
true, the true dead team buff right there.
legitimate like 100. I was so ready for them to lose the heroic. Like that is legitimately cinema dead team buff because there's no reason that they beat heroic then Tyloo then FaZe and Aurora to go to the semifinals. Like and then they almost beat Mongols too. Like they took a map off of
Yes.
Mongols. Um the two maps they lost weren't competitive, but the one map they won was a blowout. So it's yeah, I was ready for them to miss the major and then kind of be like a kind of a snarky asshole about it. But like
You
unfortunately,
believe it? I will let you know behind the scenes. I had a YouTube short prepared about Team Liquid missing the major if they got eliminated from Fisher in groups. I was like I made it after they went 0-2, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna have some recency going with this one. Any day now, any day they're gonna get eliminated. They beat Heroic. They
And
beat Tyloo.
you're like, "I'm
And
gonna
then
get so many views."
I see like the Mischief CS2 post that like Liquid are back in contention for the major, everyone. And I'm like, I think we have to scrap this. And then anyways, so basically they get to try anything now. They've accomplished their goal. They've made the major. Now we get to do whatever the hell we want with our season. So for Le- for Liege, I mean, it's gonna take less pressure off of Nerds because Nerds has just been kind of suffering. Um, like I think he's just Nerds is just not able to really pick and choose his opening duels at all. When you watch his Team Liquid team, um, like I watched Liquid versus Ecstatic, which is basically the worst of Team Liquid. Nerds in that game had 15 opening deaths. He went 3 and 15 in opening duels. And I'm just watching every time he dies, and he's just not in a favorable fight, not in a position he'd really want to be in. And I'm not sure if his confidence is shot or anything like that, but he's not hitting with firepower. He's not hitting with like extreme accuracy. And I think Elige can alleviate a little bit of that, where Nurse doesn't really have to force opening duels or always take an aggressive angle on CT side. So we'll see. Um, in my opinion, doesn't really move the needle on me for Team Liquid either. I
I
think this is like
yeah.
a net neutral trade that doesn't change anything for both parties.
I feel like it's a net positive just because I like what Elige can bring to the team, but I still think they're a move away from trying to come back. I think you still need to get rid of Roland Poland.
Oh, there's not much you can really find.
I just
You missed the bus on Molodoy there.
it's just like the thing about him is he's just one of those like generic streaky oppers where it's like he has good enough games for you to be like, okay, I see why they picked him up, but then when the lights are brightest, he fades, I guess,
Yeah.
and it just I don't know. They've had him for more. I mean, it's crazy to say they've had him for more than a year now, and it's like I've never been confident on his place in the team. I think they do need to, after this major, kind of look at their options, see who they can get on the market. Because if you're trying to be an elite team, I don't think he's a player who can take you to the promised land. It's been now more than 6 years since Liquid's won a trophy in Counter Strike, and you kind of need to stop. I don't know. I think you get rid of Ultimate.
I'd consider Fuzi actually. That's
That would
my
actually be that would actually kind of hit. Fuzi's so
yeah.
good. I like Fuzi a lot as a player, and it's clear that like I don't think you'll get much protest from him if he tries to get out of wildcard. I think after this major too, regardless if wildcard make it or not, you could see Fuzi being like, "Okay, guys, like I helped you, I helped your riser stay alive. I helped you get your VRS points. I'm gonna head back to the bench and gonna try to find a new team." Because
Yeah.
it's clear he doesn't want to stay. I mean, it's clear from everything we've heard from him at interviews, on online comments, etc. He's just there because he's contractually obligated to be there.
Yeah.
There's no
Yep.
love lost with leaving if he were to leave wildcard.
Yep. Yep. I think that's honestly the probably one of the best moves Liquid could make in this upcoming off season is to pick and I think he would fit well, and I think he would enjoy the team. And from what I see, and from his personality, he seems like a really chill guy. Doesn't really seem like anyone who would blow up a team environment. And I'm sure he has opinions, but he can also take orders. Like he's truly chill guy, good opper, good rifler too. Like man can shoot. Um, and still young. I think what Fusi's like 22.
Yeah, I'm not quite. I'll have to look it up real quick, but I don't think
He's
he's.
23.
Yeah,
23.
he's a youngster still. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he literally just turned 23. I remember Wildcard
Okay,
being
so he
23.
has a long. I mean, so he still has a long career. A long career ahead of him. It's not like he's like 28 or 29, and it's like, oh well.
Yeah.
Uh, here
That's my opinion, but for me, Bleach to Liquid. Um,
here's a truth nuke for you. This
yeah.
isn't really a serious thing, but I was just kind of thinking about this. Liquid, cut Shuhei, cut Roland
After adding him, he's been on the team for like 4 months.
cut Shuhei, cut Roland Poland, add Stanislaw and Fuzi. Becomes an
Uh,
NA team, easier path to the major.
They've
It's
already
not.
sunk so much cash,
No, I'm
dude.
not serious.
Sure.
I'm
Okay.
not serious.
I'm not considering
And
your
it's actually
rage bait. Your
it would
rage
actually
bait
be
does not work.
demonstrably cruel to Shuhei for literally no reason. He's never actually had like a stable, good team that he can like rely on, where all five pieces are firing at once, and just to cut him in favor of like a 31-year-old Stanislaw for the vibes.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chad. I shouldn't have said that. My
All
bad.
right.
With that, I think that's a perfect time for us to start wrapping things up. Of course, thanks so much for coming on, Fi, being a fantastic guest. Appreciate you.
Thank
Hope
you.
your move to the other side of the country goes well, and hopefully we'll see you at some NA LAN soon. Then one final shout out to our sponsor, INUI Gaming, who is a new matchmaking platform with a industry leading AI anti cheat identity verification. They run tons of events. We have a qualifier next weekend for the Dustiest Eagle Master Series #4. If you're not attending Fragadelphia Blocktober, we'd love to see you there. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Best of Five by Dusty US.